Okay. We going?
Yes.
Hmm?
Brendan, it's not started recording, but you're all set.
Recording in progress.
All right. Welcome to the Select Board meeting of 27th May 2026. This is a special meeting. Meeting is convened at 5:33 p.m. on the 27th of May 2026. I'm Kimo Griggs, Chair of the Norwich Select Board. I'm joined by Brendan Klassen, Vice Chair, Mary Layton, Matt Sweat, Rob Gear. Town Manager Brendan Duffy is not with us, but running a Zoom session remotely. Notes will be taken by the fabulous Jenny Tolman, and Junction Arts and Media in the form of Beatrice is enabling our digital communications and recording. So thank you for attending this special meeting of the Select Board. The special meeting is planned specifically to discuss a lawsuit brought by Mr. Katucki against the town of Norwich. May include an executive session. Plaintiffs have appealed the denial of a request for public records. Supporting documents have been made available to the Select Board and the public in a packet produced for the meeting, including the complaint, 2 letters to the Select Board from Mr. Katucki, and notes written by me regarding the complaint. On February 2nd, 2026, the plaintiff requested emails and other communication from January 2026 timeframe between Select Board members and between Select Board members and town staff, including the town manager. Similar request for February communications was later made. Because the requests were made to the town manager as the assumed custodian of public records, the follow-on complaint was also handled by the town manager. The plaintiff has disabilities that do not allow them to inspect documents and other communication from January. Statute is not clear as to how to provide alternative access for those requiring special accommodation, or what digital alternatives might be considered equal to. And Norwich has no policy regarding these things. The town manager engaged counsel to determine 3 different ways that might satisfy the needs of the plaintiff. During an executive session, the Select Board considered the 3 options, asked the town manager and counsel to propose one of them to Mr. Katucki. The Select Board has not weighed in on the complaint since that executive session. The option chosen by the Select Board as the proposed solution may have been treated as a final offer by the town manager, and Mr. Katucki has now sued the town to gain access to the public records he requested. Well, I hope that we might consult with counsel to determine the best way forward for the town to satisfy the interest of Mr. Katucki. I don't personally believe there was nefarious or dishonest behavior behind this suit, but rather a misunderstanding regarding how to supply public records in an efficient way to a citizen who requests them in the absence of a policy regarding how to do so for a citizen who is not able to visit town hall in person. My hope is the Select Board will find a way to settle the suit amicably and quickly. Okay, so that's the welcome and introduction. Item number 1, the agenda. 4 items. Do I hear a motion? Yeah.
I am wondering about the order of the agenda, because we have the proposed solutions, and then we have just listed as A, B, C, D, and E, especially with E. I'm just thinking that, can we have a bit of a discussion about whether or not we might want to take advantage of an executive session to propose these cures? Because I'm having kind of some needed clarity on E, which, you know, which says, there's a lot here, but this one says, acknowledge and adopt a policy acknowledging that legislative privilege, deliberative process privilege, and 1 VSA section 317 C17 do not shield written communication sent to a quorum of the Select Board from disclosure under the Public Records Act. And my lack of clarity stems from opposing views by Mr. Katucki and our town council, and I do not know which prevails, or I don't know if that's a legal debate within the legal community. I do not have clarity on that, and I cannot support it without being clear about whether we should go through with adopting that policy. So that would be my reason for going in. You know, that would be my logic for perhaps, you know, going into executive session and talking with counsel. Maybe we don't need to go in to find out, you know, get to the bottom of that, but it just makes me a little nervous to not have clarity on that.
Okay, so I think the normal way of doing this is if a item on the agenda can be moved, it will be moved. If it can't be moved, then we will consider other options.
Okay, so, but also just the way this agenda is put together, we have all the tasks that we have to do. And then there's an option to enter executive session. And it's just not clear to me with any of the items if that's something that we should discuss before we actually take action or not. Should that be for all of them? I don't know how anyone else feels about this. Maybe it's completely unnecessary. But I'm thinking once we get to E, I would definitely ask for it. Okay?
Motion may be made at any time.
Okay, just wanted to make that clear. So that's like an option for any of these solutions if we all decide that it's necessary. And if that is the case, then we'll have to say, I believe I'd say why, right? Like why that would be our finding of, you know, why it would be necessary, if I understand our process correctly. So.
Yes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes. Oh, interesting. Okay. Yes.
a prospective contribution from a member of the public?
Maybe we should approve the agenda first,
Yeah.
first and foremost. I mean, yes, exactly.
Okay, all right, yep,
That's what I'm saying. Start at the beginning.
okay.
We're jumping ahead.
Well, I feel like I have clarity, so I'll actually move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Right. Second. Any further discussion? We'll accept discussion from the public.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's John Carroll. If I understand correctly, I don't hear so well, you're suggesting that the board include for discussion Mr. Katucki's email that relates to the second notice on the request for further relief. Is that correct?
Yes.
It was included in the packet. You included this in the packet.
Email?
No,
Into that in
Katucki's petition.
I'm sorry. So what the question was?
Are you proposing to include this in the agenda this evening? Do you understand that there are two actions by Mr. Katucki? One is the notice of violations.
Yes.
This meeting is not about that. This meeting is about his lawsuit in court
Correct.
regarding the denial of access to public documents.
Yeah.
So, and it says so right here, to consider the response to the Katucki suit.
Yes.
It does not say, and also to consider his request for further response to the notice of violation, which is a totally separate matter.
Okay. Well, maybe in my reading of his documents, these items satisfied both.
No, they do not, sir. If you respond to Mr. Katucki's second notice under 1 VSA 314, it addresses some of the concerns, but it doesn't deal with the lawsuit.
All right. Well, this is the agenda we have. This is,
Your agenda allows you to speak only about the lawsuit, not about the notice of violations.
If we're having a discussion on the agenda approval, somebody could move to add that to our agenda.
I believe you can add it without providing public notice.
Not warning it.
without warning it.
you want to table this?
And by the way, I would say that both of these topics taken together is a lot more than a 1-hour meeting.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. On this. I'm like Monday, yeah.
So just to be clear, agenda item 3 is consider response to Katucki lawsuit filed 4th of May, 2026,
Yes,
not the notice of violation that precedes it.
right.
Right.
So we can discuss that. So, okay, any other comments? Yes, please.
Priscilla Vincent, thank you. Mr. Chair, once again, I would like to urge the board not to go into an executive session. You are in the process of curing some open meeting violations, which had a lot to do with too many executive sessions. I was part of many of them, and I don't think they needed to be executive sessions. And I don't understand I guess I just don't understand what the problem is, why Mr. Katucki is not being given everything he asked for as he asked for it. But I also want to make it clear to you that those of us in this room, those of us out there, we are your neighbors. Some of us are your friends. We don't hold anything against you. We just want to know what's going on. We are supportive of the direction you are taking, trying to become more open. You are allowed to talk to counsel in open session. And when you go into behind closed doors, it's as if you're afraid of us. I don't think there's anything for you to be afraid of. There's nothing terrible behind closed doors. And so I would urge you, please, not to use that option of an executive session. It's really bad optics, among other things. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla.
Thank you. Mary?
I just wanted to respond to Priscilla's comment a little bit. I do think we're trying to make an effort to be more open. I don't want to overcorrect, though. I don't want to overcorrect. I'd like to have more clarity about, when we should go in. I don't want to go in because I just have a doubt, but I would like to have more clarity about it, and I don't want to eliminate the possibility. So, just saying.
Mr. Chair.
Agreed. Yes.
I think if we look at the statute, the fundamental tenet of open meeting law is to err on the side of disclosure, not to go into executive session. That's the advice we have from Vermont law. You look surprised, Mary.
I'm not, because I hear it over and over again. I know that, okay? But I'm not always clear when we should and when we shouldn't. Now, just saying that you know that the statute says that to me does not provide this specific guidance on a case-by-case basis. And part of it is perhaps knowing a little bit ahead of time what we're going to be talking about. Like sometimes there's so many items that we have to deal with on an agenda, and we don't really have the background information to know whether or not something, like just knowing that, a different lawsuit, okay? Not noticing that, oh, it's already in the public domain, things like that, knowing that ahead of the meeting.
So you read my memo.
Yes, no,
You either did or you didn't.
I'm not for or against anybody at this table. I'm just trying to understand how to deal with this on a practical basis. And I don't think beating the drum of just saying, oh, we should be more open is enough.
I completely agree with you. Like,
It's
we
confusing.
need to be informed ahead of time. We need to do our pre-reads, our research, and come to this meeting with
Well, maybe a
facts.
little more of a base of facts.
Sorry?
A little more of a base of facts. Yes.
Right, so this is why my memo, right, to basically contribute to tonight's deliberations, rather than just throwing things into the mix at 6:45 PM, 5:45 PM.
Right.
I wanted to give you guys, and admittedly, I wish it was longer, but circumstances contrived against me. We need to share information through memos, not soliciting comment, purely through memos, so we can be forewarned, forearmed, and intelligently put in a position to make the right judgment.
Yes, Mary.
I did encourage that when I was chair. I'm not saying that I did the best job, but I agree with you that memos, because then you can expand on your thoughts and you can share them with everybody. Just put them in the packet if you want, just to get, your reasoning out there.
But I think,
But I'm also thinking that I don't want to waste too much time with this meeting. Like if we're going to do any of these things, we're going to have to get on.
no, I think we all have to get comfortable with, so we've been, Mr. Chairman, if you may indulge me, we've been charged by the members of the public to sit in these chairs and deliberate on their behalf. We have a considerable breadth of talent and experience at this table, not least almost 18 years previous experience serving in this forum. Yourself, 12, Rob, 4, Matt, couple, Chemo, couple, me, the least of all. We have a self-demonstrated IT expert. We have a fire department servicer and entrepreneur. We have a lifelong educator. We have an architect, academic, Yale and Harvard credentials, me, a retired pharmaceutical executive. Between the five of us, the voters have charged us with taking ownership of this. We shouldn't scurry off to have a lawyer, and let's get to this later in the program. I have concerns about the law firm, Stitzel, Page and Fletcher, which I've elaborated in my memo. We have to make the call. Us 5 people in a quorum setting, 3-2-4-1-5-0. We make the call. I yield my time.
Yes, Mary.
I don't think it's too productive to go back and forth on this a lot. I just don't think as a blanket policy, we should disengage with our law firm. I think we need to be judicious about asking for advice, maybe ask advice more in a public session, but not letting go. I don't think so. We might have overdone it in the legal direction, but nobody likes getting yelled at either. It's been a significant amount of public pressure. I just don't want to overdo it in the opposite direction and completely let go of valuable legal advice. And if it can be given in the public eye, it's better, I think, because then, of course, we're sharing it. So the law firm and the executive session may also be somewhat separate issues.
I wish my concerns about the law firm to be in public session.
Okay,
Okay,
Let's,
get on with the meeting.
so I think the
Yeah.
motion was, with that, someone moved to approve the agenda as presented.
Right.
I second. Mary said it, I seconded it.
let's vote. We ready to vote? Lassen,
Aye.
Layton,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Sweat.
Yes.
All right. We're going to table the proposed solutions for now. I've made a terrible mistake in proposing solutions that I thought were based on, it's been a busy week, let me put it that way. And move directly to item 3, consider the response to Katucki's suit.
No, yeah, I'm sorry, I think we have to do number 2.
Yes, so we'll do public comments for items on the agenda. Next. Yes, that was not my.
Cheryl Lindbergh,
Sure.
resident. I'm reading the chair's introduction over again, and I am reading, and you read to us, that during an executive session, the select board considered the 3 options and asked the town manager and council to propose one of them to Mr. Katucki. that sounds like a decision made in executive session. I attended that select board meeting, and never did you come back to the public and state any decision that was made in that executive session, to my recollection. Am I wrong, or does anybody, I am, like, that's a basic function. You come back out, you vote to move into public session, and you state any decisions made in your executive session. But I have to follow up on this. This is very disappointing if that's the case. Thank you.
I don't have an answer for you until I look at the notes, but I think it's well established that we may not have acted correctly during those sessions. Not because we didn't want to, we didn't. Yes, no.
Thank you. John Carroll, these are comments of matters not on the agenda, but I'm opting to do this now rather than wait until you get to item 3, the actual case before you, because these all matter or relate directly to the matter that you will take up next. But to be sure that they are included, I'm doing it now. And I'm going to read to you a series of assertions. They're assertions from me, a non-lawyer. I've studied the law behind this, Vermont law, common law, but I'm no attorney. And I've also read closely and looked closely at the redactions that the town manager made in the infamous week of 23 to 28 January. And I'd like to just make some observations, and behind each observation, I have a fairly extensive explanation and evidence, but we won't have time in the 3 minutes I'm allotted to review them in detail. I'll begin by saying, state law favors public access. Just let there be no doubt about that. The law says, to that end, the provisions of this subchapter shall be liberally construed to implement this policy, and the burden of proof shall be on the public agency to sustain its action. Second, I would observe that this board and your preceding boards have failed significantly, if not miserably, to develop appropriate rules to guide the town manager or whomever you designate as the custodian of public records in how to conduct themselves. Absent your own rules, state law absolutely trumps everything you want to do. For example, state law spells out the fees, and it's clear you must live by the fees of the Secretary of State if you haven't your own fees. So a piece of work for you folks in the near future, I hope, is to get serious about a set of rules and procedures to guide the town manager. The town manager has referred to his designation in his job description, and he's correct. It does so designate that he is, quote, the case manager for legal affairs. That description, by the way, does not exist in law. There is no place in state law that says that a town manager shall be a case manager for litigation. It was inserted perhaps 9 or 10 years ago. We don't know when, we don't know the history of it, but it was inserted into the town manager's job description long before the present town manager arrived. Probably it was written by a former town manager. That would be my guess, but it's just a guess. In any case, a case manager, the language of the job description is fatally flawed. A case manager for litigation, by universal definition, is a case manager is a legal professional. Get that? A case manager is a legal professional who oversees and coordinates the logistics of lawsuits from initial client intake through resolution. Town manager is not a legal professional. I'm sure he would readily concur. And his appropriate role is administrative. And his duty is to facilitate, as an administrator, communications between the town, between the select board, his boss, and the town council, who is retained by the select board. Town council does not answer to the town manager. The town manager does not answer to the town council in any way. He answers only to you, and so only does the town council. Town council can choose to leave you, but so long as he's going to claim you as a client, then he has to respond to you, not the town manager. Third, the town manager's redactions, I've only been able to see, and the public has only been able to see redactions in connection with the famous so-called witch hunt conversation in January. 3 of the 5 board members expressed reservations about going into the executive session that the town manager so urgently wanted to have happen. 3. Mr. Griggs explicitly said he would not support an executive session, and so did Mrs. Vincent. Mr. Sweat said he would support it, but he then also said very clearly that he was very concerned about going into executive session and supported what Mr. Griggs had said. Interestingly enough, Mr. Griggs's comments about concerns about going into executive session, Mr. Sweat's and Ms. Vincent's, were all wiped out by the town manager, hidden away. I think that's called putting your thumb on the scale. His choice was to eliminate your, and if you don't believe it, I can show you, but if you look closely, you will see that what you said, most of it got wiped out. What you said, especially your concerns, most of it got wiped out. And all of Ms. Vince's concerns got wiped out. That's tipping the scale. That's not responding to some concern about public protection or the protection of a reputation of some individual. It's none of that. I'm an ex-politician, that's politics.
We need to be mindful of.
Yep, one more, please. The town manager and the town council have claimed certain common law privileges, and they're pretty esoteric. I barely understand them, but they've mentioned 2. It's so-called legislative process or legislative privilege, and the deliberative process privilege. The legislative privilege, it's ancient stuff, applies only to the select board. It applies to legislators. You are the legislative body of this town. It applies to you. It does not apply to the town manager. He has no legislative privilege, none. Moreover, the legislative privilege does not apply to the activities that happened in January in that chain quorum discussion, because there was no legislative process going on there. It was simply planning a meeting. Doing so illegally, I might say, but planning a meeting. It was not a legislative process. So it's not protected by the legislative process claim that the town manager wants to make. And the deliberative process applies only to the town manager, administrators. But it is a qualified privilege, and courts frequently and often overrule. Finally, I'll observe that I believe that the town council, who was very heavily involved in advising the town manager on all of this. In fact, we understand that it was the town council, the lead lawyer, who did most of the redactions. If that is true, then it's very hard to see how the town council, this particular town council, can advise you objectively, since in some senses, his work is on trial as much as that of the town manager. He's kind of a party to this case. And if I were in your shoes, I wouldn't have a lot of confidence in his objectivity. He's done a lot of law here, some of which may not stand up in court. And he's going to be determined to do so. I would say if he wants to pay for the cost of this litigation himself, that might be a different matter. But it's hard for me to see why the taxpayers of this town should be paying for this lawyer to try to defend his decisions that are reflected by the town manager's actions. Thank you. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. Any other public comments for items not on the agenda? Seeing none, I think we can now move to number 3, considering response to the Katucki suit. I don't have a motion written for this. We need discussion, we need understanding. I'd like to invite Mariah, our counsel, to explain to the town how we got here. We had someone who can't come into town hall to get records, make a request for records. We looked for ways to provide them with those records. And now we have a lawsuit on our hand, and I don't understand how we got there. I wonder if that's something you can explain.
Mr. Katucki made a PRA request. The town manager contacted all select board members, provided the select board members with that request. The select board members gathered records and provided them to the town manager. Town manager asked me to search for any applicable exemptions in these records. I applied redactions according to applicable exemptions in the PRA, provided them to the town manager for review. We had some back and forth on them, and then we provided the records to Mr. Katucki. Mr. Katucki then appealed our redactions of those records, along with appealing, well, I'll get to the redaction. So Mr. Katucki appealed the redactions. The town manager denied that appeal and provided a written response. Also coinciding with this request, these requests were originally requests for copies. And when we advised Mr. Katucki that this is going to have some staff charges for taking the time to gather these records and prepare the copies for review and prepare the copies for Mr. Katucki, he changed his request to one for inspection. Because when you ask for inspection, you don't get to charge for the staff time that goes into complying with the request. And we then, through communications with Mr. Katucki, we tried to work out an accommodation because he couldn't come into the town hall. So we set up a share file for him to view, but said he couldn't take screenshots because that would be taking copies of the records without paying for all the time that the town manager went through to gather these records, review the records. And then we met with the select board to discuss some options of how we could accommodate Mr. Katucki. It wasn't a select board decision. It was more we got some feedback from the select board, and the town manager made the decision as to what the accommodation was going to be. So there was no select board action taken in that meeting. The town manager then provided Mr. Katucki that, and with an email explaining here's a share file link where he could remotely view these records. Sent to share only. He said that he needed to take screenshots for his notes. So in order to accommodate his request to be able to use screenshots for his notes, but still protect, the town's prerogative, so it's not just giving free copies of its records. We said you can take screenshots for your notes, but you can't share them with third parties or publish these screenshots because otherwise you pay for the copies and all the time that went into all the staff went into applying the request. And then after the records and Mr. Katucki's administrative appeal to the town manager, he filed this suit on
4th of May.
Am I correct in saying that the select board has not been advising you or the town manager on this issue as it proceeded?
Well,
From a complaint to a suit?
the town manager sought the council sought advice account of the select board regarding how to accommodate Mr. Katucki. The select board didn't review the redactions or anything like that before they went out, or how to say in the appeal goes to the town manager. Then this lawsuit here now, so the select board can review the redactions and decide whether or not it wants to say no, the redactions are okay or are authorized by law, or even if they are authorized by law, the select board can totally decide to unredact all the records it wants. And provide.
Could you tell us why redactions are being made at all?
There
This
are
is not, it's not a
there are
not a lot of-
there are about 34, I think more than 30 exemptions under the PRA that allows for redactions or withholding of records. And I was asked to apply any exemptions that could be applied.
by the town manager.
Well,
Okay. Well, I'm just trying to establish how much culpability the select board has in this thing, going from someone coming in and asking for public records, and now the town's being sued. And this is someone who can't come in to get public records. And my immediate response is, let's be generous and get them the public records they desire, since they can't come in and do it themselves.
which we did.
Now, it just seems completely upside down to me, and so I'm trying to figure it out now. And if we're talking about $540 in fees that are the difference between providing these documents and not providing them,
That's
I
not,
think I'd offer to pay.
that's not,
I mean, it's part of what it sounds like. Yes, Matt?
To clarify, the town manager collected all of the documents that were asked for. The documents are provided to Mr. Katucki. We're talking about whether, so we're not withholding anything. They were redacted, and I guess that's the prerogative of how to provide them. But all these documents were made available for him to look at remotely. And then there were also provisions made so he could use, instead of taking his own notes, so he could take screenshots of them in place of notes. And so, like, a lot of provisions were made, extra provisions were made in good faith to make sure that he could read all of these documents, that he could take notes in the ways that were most manageable for him to take notes. I think that we're talking about a small part of what was asked of him that he wasn't agreeable to. And I'm not weighing in one way or another whether that's right or wrong, but I don't want us to go off onto this tangent where it seems like the town was not trying to provide the things that he asked. You know, certainly we turned around and we all gathered as much as we could. The town manager processed it. He put it through a normal legal process of just, you know, having our law firm look over it and make sure that nothing was going out that shouldn't go out. And then that was provided to him. And now we're just trying to tease down to the part of whether his screenshots that he uses as notes can also be distributed by him to other people. And in which case that is very similar to just him giving away the stuff that he didn't pay for. And in a normal way, in like the traditional way that we've done this, if someone wants the public records, they can pay for the time to assemble them. Then they're theirs to do what they want with. In this case, it's a lot less defined.
Yeah.
I think the town manager also may have something to add to that.
Actually, I have a question for Brian Smith. So Brian, you mentioned the process of back and forth I think was your quote, for the iterative process of executing the redactions.
Well,
So my question to you is specifically regarding what could be regarded as exculpatory evidence for Chairman Griggs, Sweat, and former select woman Vincent. Were you instructed by the town manager to redact that exculpatory evidence, specifically their concerns about going into executive session and their cautionary guidance to each other, albeit outside the open meeting law guidelines? Were you instructed to do that by the town manager, yes or no?
yes, I believe. So my back and forth with the town manager, I mean, I was asked to apply redactions that were applicable. And the town manager reviewed the redactions. I mean, I don't know why we're saying exculpatory evidence. I mean, nobody's done anything criminal here, or.
We are talking about open meeting law violation, and this is exculpatory evidence that these three select board members were at pains to explain to each other their reticence, their reluctance, and their disapproval of embarking on this, ostensibly, as we heard, a witch hunt. Why was this evidence redacted? I do not understand. It is not incriminatory, it is exculpatory. I need an explanation on this.
May I speak, Mr. Chair?
Yes, Brendan.
Okay. So I'd just like to be clear as to the process that occurred. The process and what we're in a lawsuit about is a Public Record Act request. It's not an open meeting law violation. So we followed the same process that we followed on multiple Public Record Act requests. And that is that as the custodian of the public records, I am tasked with gathering those records from whatever party would have them. In this case, it was records that I had created and records that members of the select board had created in this process. I want to be very clear that I never requested that this become an executive session, that was solely a decision of the select board, and that played out in an email thread that we've already acknowledged probably was improper because that did violate open meeting law. The records, once they were compiled, were sent, as they always are, to Stitchell, Page, and Fletcher, and they go through as lawyers and create proper redactions for the records that are not appropriate to be shared in public. So all of the records have redactions there. I want to be very clear that I never instructed Bariah to go through and look specifically at some of those records other than others and make a distinction. So what Mr. Klassen seems to be alleging here is that the town manager, myself, told Bariah he should go through and make it look, better or worse for members of this select board. That is completely untrue, and I want to be very clear on the record that that is completely untrue. That's all I have to say at the moment.
Mr. Duffy, Bariah Smith just admitted the contrary.
Well,
He was acting upon your instructions to redact the exculpatory evidence.
Not
End of conversation.
not specific to any one conversation or any one record. He was asked, as he has been on every other Public Record Act request that we've used the attorney, to go through and redact appropriately. There was no go in and find 3 members of the select board that didn't want to go into executive session and redact those records. That is insulting and that is false. Thank you.
So let's look at the total volume of response records.
Your control. Yeah. Mary.
I'm wondering, Bariah mentioned that there are 34 criteria for redaction. I wonder if he might be able to narrow it a bit. Are there, generally speaking, 2 or 3 exemptions that might apply? I just think that saying they're 34 might get into some esoteric legal analysis where we're just trying to understand the basis for the redactions and maybe smooth the way a little bit.
So 317, I know I cited 317 for most of these, which is providing opinion, speculation, advice. And we also cited the deliberative process privilege, insofar as you were giving each other advice, opinion. And the reason for that is to allow for frank discussions among government officers, to allow them to come up with some ideas that they might not otherwise say in public. And maybe the other side shuts that down, but it allowed the 317 and the deliberative process privilege allows for redactions of non-factual matters. So like nothing redacted was a factual assertion of its opinion, advice, those kind of comments. And the purpose behind it is to encourage frank conversation among legal officers. And there's been some conflating between the open meeting law and the PRA action. The open meeting law specifically incorporates all of the exemptions that are in the PRA, and the PRA for cures says that the select board shall either ratify or declare void any action that it took outside of an open meeting. It doesn't say it then has to go and disclose records that would otherwise be properly exempt from the Public Records Act. It could, and this select board has decided to do that for some of its records, but that's not necessarily what the open meeting law requires.
I guess. I mean, I was in these meetings. They were pretty mild and friendly, and I mean, there was nothing I would redact personally. Are we allowed to ask you to not redact our communications if we feel safe
Yeah,
in
the
doing so?
select board can pass a policy and say any communications from select board members shall not be redacted. Although it might be a little broad, because what if you're communicating with the attorney about a contract or a negotiation strategy? You might want to still maintain the ability to redact those conversations.
Well, is there an easy way to not fight this, but to satisfy Mr. Katucki in a way that doesn't somehow put the town at risk? Or, I mean, I think we would like this to go away. It doesn't seem, we haven't done anything, and I think it was
I think that this is being, this isn't that big, this wasn't a gigantic deal in my opinion, nor are we trying to cover up huge things.
No.
I think that we're all trying to kind of continue through this in a way that satisfies everyone without setting a precedent that might get us into, that might force us into doing stuff in the future in a way that is extra, that is more constraining to us than we have to legally. I don't know if I'm saying this right, but like, I think this wasn't a huge behind closed doors thing. And I think that we would like to figure out how to move forward from this. It does seem like there has been some confusion between the Public Records Act suit and the open meeting law, violations and cures. Even in the packet that we received, there's there's mixed messaging here, and that leads to the confusion. But I would.
Well, they're intertwined. The open meeting law violation is the subject of the PRA request.
Right, but right now, we're only talking about the PRA, lawsuit that are, and there are some things that I was hoping to ask counsel for legal advice that I would prefer to have, that I would prefer to ask without putting us at risk if we do decide to go forward with the complaint and bring this to court. And I suspect that maybe the answers will make it so that we can say we'd like to do whatever's necessary to not bring this to court. And that would be preferable to everybody. But there are some questions that I'd love to get legal advice in executive session. There's only a couple of questions. But, I agree with what Mary said, which is that I know that we're talking about using executive session very judiciously, like as little as possible. But there are also some real relevant reasons to use executive session. I think that we're in the middle of one of those things. And it might be that we come out and say, this is what we talked about, we're going to decide this and then just move forward, but it would help me clarify my thoughts. We're beyond that time now.
I wanted to ask my colleagues whether you've had a chance to go through the 537 total pages of redacted email.
I went through a ton of it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So there are a total of 153 redactions, 30%. These redactions cover 12 separate unrelated topics. Premature release of town draft audit, solar array installation, $5,000 damage to DPW firewall, production issuance of select board handbook, scheduling town meetings, considerations around a potential tax exemption of fire district properties, public records from Katucki, public records from Pam Smith, discussion of an organizational meeting agenda for regular select board agenda, charter from the energy plan group, an undisclosed item that was so heavily redacted between 8 emails dated in the packet from 2/2/26, the topic of conversation was uninterpretable. This conversation involved conversations between Callaway, Leighton, Mary Kate Kelly, who's an indeterminate lawyer from external sources, Philip Woodward from VLCT, not involving the 3 other select board members at the time, Vincent, yourself, and Griggs. So heavily redacted, not involving 3 members of the select board, thereby precluding a quorum vote. This is evident in the redacted emails. Somebody instructed somebody to redact these.
What are we, I'm sorry.
Excessive secrecy and occlusion of all records, violating open meeting law. It's a fundamental philosophical lesion between the spirit of the open meeting law and the manner in which these redactions were carried out.
I am not aware of specifically is the legal basis for specific redactions. That would be useful to hear from Mariah. And if they're in relationship to the subject matter of that specific set of emails, there's some question in my mind is how much could be discussed with Mariah that would not put at risk the redaction itself and its legal basis or the value of its legal redaction. So after that information, it would be possible for me to clearly say, let's release this stuff unredacted, or there are valid reasons for these redactions that we should maintain them going forward. What I know can come up in emails and in interactions could be aspersions against staff members that are unfounded and found and discovered to be unfounded, but would be something that could be acted upon by that employee or that elected official. And so if one is allowing these accusations to go out, what culpability does the select board then have for allowing those
Good point.
falsehoods?
So
Thank you,
yeah, thank you. We have 3 minutes before our regular meeting starts. I think this has been useful to me as a general conversation. I hope it's been useful to the public. I'm going to ask, Brian, do you feel like you have enough information from us to perhaps send us what you would consider to be answers to some of these concerns and propose next steps? I don't think anybody has an interest in getting into a deep fight over this stuff with Mr. Katucki. It doesn't serve the town, it doesn't serve him, it doesn't serve us, I don't think. I could be wrong. So do you have the information you need in order to advise us a little bit? And perhaps we can have another special meeting soon?
I would like just to have, before I go, the one directive I do need is that yes, we can accept service of the lawsuit without making Mr. Katucki serve us.
And that, yes. I
I
think,
agree with that.
yes, yes.
Yeah, I recommend doing that.
And do you need a vote from us or?
Hang on, hold on. Can you just explain that again to me?
Mr. Katucki sent us the lawsuit. He hasn't served us with a lawsuit, but he sent us a request to waive service. And if we waive service, we get 60 days from the date that we received it to respond. And if we don't waive service, Mr. Katucki then has to pay the sheriff to serve us, but then the town would be responsible for paying the sheriff to serve us.
Thank you.
Agreeable.
Yeah, we're agreeable.
Okay.
We have 1 minute and we have someone whose arm is going to fall off if we don't ask him to speak.
Mr. Chairman. Thanks for doing this in public. Not easy, not fun, worth doing. A couple thoughts. One, no explanation has been given to you by either the town manager or the town council as to why the sentiments of people who had reservations about the executive session were redacted. No explanation has been given. The town council says it was done by the town manager says it was done by town council. Town council has given you no explanation for that. Those are only some of the redactions. I can't see them all. You can't either. His credibility as a redactor ought to concern you. Number two, the town manager says, it's not my fault, it's his fault. Yeah, okay, except that the town manager is the one who is responsible to this town as custodian of public records to respond, not town council. And so I know he'd like to export responsibility. I don't think that works. Third, the exemption at VSA 317C17, which is one of 44 exceptions, and it is the only one that possibly applies. And it's about departments and interdepartmental communication. Well, there's no interdepartmental communication. You're not a department. You're a legislative body. And it's communication between a town manager, who is your employee, not a department. And even if he is a department, you're not. So 317C is a joke. It simply does not apply. And it's just amazing that This attorney is trying to convince you of that. Finally, page, just talk about fees. This is craziness that anybody is mentioning fees, such as the town manager has. The fees include hours and hours of conversations with the town council. So you're paying town council and town manager. The law says if a legislative body, that would be you, fails to establish a uniform schedule of charges, the charges of that political subdivision shall be the uniform schedule of charges established by the Secretary of State until the local legislative body, finally, that's my word, gets around to establishing such a schedule. You don't have a schedule, it's the Secretary of State's schedule. It's not what he says, it's what the Secretary of State says. Read the law. Thank you very much.
Agreed. All right. We are,
Mr. Chairman, the other thing we do need to remember, Mr. Katucki has asked for a clear and concise explanation as to what transpired in the executive session, January 28th, for the matter of the draft audit. And after 1 hour, we've not addressed that.
That was in a cure for the open meeting law thing. So that's a different topic,
I think that's correct.
He's asking us for it.
but it's,
Yeah.
but it's not part of this meeting.
We'll have to get to it.
We will have to get to it. It's now 6:32. We are over time. I think we will have to have another special meeting to address the rest of this. But for me personally, this was useful. And thank you for answering our questions in public. We appreciate that very much. And would anyone like to move to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
Second? Okay, and voting. Klassen,
Yes.
Layton.
Yes.
Here.
Yes.
Sweat.
Yes.
And Griggs, yes. Thanks for your contribution this evening. Meeting adjourned at 6:34 PM.
Recording stopped.
Okay, well, I don't think anybody.
Recording in progress.
We're back. Does anybody need to get water? All right. Here we go. Select Board meeting, 27 May 2026. This meeting is convened at 6:35 PM on 27th May 2026. I'm Kimo Griggs, Chair of the Norwich Select Board. I'm joined by Brendan Klassen, Vice Chair, Mary Layton, Matt Sweat, Rob Gear. Town Manager Brendan Duffy is not with us, but is running a Zoom session remotely. Notes will be taken by the still fabulous Jenny Tolman. And Junction Arts and Media is taking our, in the form of Beatrice, is enabling our digital communications. Thank you for attending this regular meeting. We have general supervision of the town of Norwich. We appreciate the valuable contributions of our town employees, elected and appointed officials, and the myriad volunteers that make our town what it is. We endeavor to be respectful of everyone while keeping what is best for Norwich Star. If the chair recognizes you during our meeting, please try to keep your presentation to a maximum of 3 minutes. Okay, let's move on to our agenda. Would anyone like to move to approve the agenda?
I'm happy to do that, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Klassen,
I'll second it.
moved by
As
Layton,
presented. Correct?
presented.
Is that your intention,
Well, unless you,
Brendan?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to be clear.
voting, Klassen,
Aye.
Layton,
Yes.
here,
Yes.
Sweat,
Yes.
Griggs is a yes. Chair's report. Let's see, since our last meeting on May 13th, I've examined the state of construction repairs on Moore Lane Bridge. I've been active in discussion with citizens concerned about relocating the Hoser House shed on Norwich Green. And now I'm talking with individuals who are interested in having someone move the rink parts and pieces into the shed, as well as those who volunteered to make that happen. The ladies who take care of the triangle at Main and Church Street, and they're interested in having more convenient supply of water available. Took part in the first softball game of the season on Huntley Meadow for the geriatric crowd. Was on the winning team for the first time, which I think they won largely because I walked away for a few minutes to help celebrate the handover to the town of a new shed given by the Lions Club up at the parking lot. It was fun to watch Bree Swenson try to accept the keys to the shed when she uses a combination lock. Much work was done to understand and prepare proposed responses to Katucki lawsuit. Further work was done to collate and prepare proposed town manager goals that we will examine tonight. Thank you. I need to move backward because I realize I ought to have modified the agenda. I'm not ready to have a communications discussion today, number 12.
We should withdraw, should Brendan withdraw his motion then?
Withdraw the motion.
Okay, withdraw, amending a motion to exclude item 12, communications, but otherwise as approved.
Okay, and I'll second that
Klassen
amendment.
and Klassen vote yes.
Yes, I,
Leighton,
Yes,
here.
Yes.
Swett, yes. Griggs, yes. Okay,
okay.
thank you. Public comments for items not on the agenda. Yes.
It's me again, John Carroll, and I will not use all my time. I just want to remind you that not on your agenda is the request from Mr. Katucki for you to continue your work in responding to his notice of violations. You have not finished your work. The law requires you to either accept or reject what you did in illegal executive sessions. Remember, you entered 2 illegal executive sessions in the 28th of January. You must determine that you either repudiate what you did or you must establish that you accept it. He details for you very clearly in his email about that. And I'm very surprised that that's not on this week's agenda. Another 2 weeks delay, I guess.
Well,
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. That was a mix-up on my part. I take full responsibility. Yes.
actually, just check on it.
Just what we do, we sit here.
Yeah, and like, usually there's a preamble that he does mention that you're supposed to state your name.
Yeah.
And that you generally have,
Everybody knows John.
and that you generally have 3 minutes, and if you keep it under that, that'd be great.
Yeah, well,
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
point of order.
Mr. Klassen.
Before Mr. Wilberding is given a chance to speak, and I'm very keen to hear from him, I would like to make a statement on some recent news items and the attitude and disposition of this board to those news items.
Is this on the agenda?
It's public comment.
Public comment.
Items not on the agenda.
We live in a small town, and at times, news items, articles, happenings become very much matters of public interest. There are 2 specific newsworthy items in the public domain at the moment, of which myself, Chairman Griggs, and possibly my colleagues have been inundated beseeching responses to. These 2 issues are Selectwoman Leighton and a case that we all understand. I don't need to go into details. And the suspicious death case involving the Neely family in town. Sometimes reality can distract us. The function of this board is to observe the traditional legal maxims of presumption of innocence and the burden of proof. Other than that, this board has no position and makes no comment on either case.
Thank you.
I yield my time.
I appreciate that comment. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
More items not on the agenda.
yeah, if you guys are done. I would like to know what,
Identify yourself.
okay.
Yeah, please state your name.
All right, so John didn't do it, but I'll do it. Doug Wilberding, 1329 Turnpike Road, Norwich, Vermont. Born and raised here in 1966. Would like to understand, and I emailed the chair and the co-chair about Mary Layton's case. And it appears that the board's position is not to act. And I have a feeling that Ms. Layton will not resign, which I think is unfortunate for the town. And I think this will play out. He'll be up for election in March. But I think it's, after going to the courthouse today and pulling the documents, it is very, very concerning, the course of events. And I do believe you signed, is it Exhibit B or Attachment B to the personnel policies for the town?
Addendum B.
Addendum B, which holds one accountable to the personnel policies, correct? Is that correct? That's a question.
A portion of the select board signed that document.
But I believe Mary signed it.
Correct.
Okay. So the board can act or not act, or you can resign or not resign. But I want to go on the record asking for you to resign. That's my position. Thanks.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you for your comment. Yes, please.
Carol Loveland, 32 Butternut Road. Also, I'm co-president of the Women's Club, and I'm part of the crew for the garden. So I was hoping that I would get an answer about if someone has looked at the water situation. I understand that that faucet that's closest is not connected. I just want to know if it can be, if it's a structural issue or a money issue.
Thank you, Carol. Nice to meet you. I don't think I'll be able
I'll be looking, I will look into it personally, but I wonder if our town manager has a notion about this, about the plumbing on Tracy Hall.
Yeah, I am aware that we have two working faucets on either side of the building. I believe the faucet that is being talked about is inoperable. I am not aware of why or how long that's been inoperable, but I believe it's been a long time. So there are two water sources, obviously requiring a little more hose to get to the garden that's being watered, that are operational at the moment.
I understand that, and it's 150 feet, and we've got, every time we don't have the fast squad come, when we're working on the garden, it's a good day. We're getting a little older, and we were just hoping that we could get that one thing closer, and if there's another way to look at it, and why it's not connected, that still is not I don't know the answer to that. I understand it's not, but is it a structural issue?
Well, is that something you'll be looked into? See if it could be reconnected?
Yeah, I can try to determine that. I know we've talked about this in the past, and the answer has just been that it is an inoperable faucet. So I can chat with our custodian again and see if there's any more information available. But at this point, yeah, that is inoperable and has been for a long time.
There's another option that Liz Guest is in charge of the garden, and her husband Jake was wondering if he could look at it and maybe try to find another way outside to get water available to us at the corner on this side. Is that that's why I'm waiting to see from the board whether it's a structural issue or not. So, and then of course they'd have to come to you if they're going to do anything. We understand that.
Is this to install an underground pipe to put a faucet on the island?
No.
Have a closer source.
No, just have a closer source so
To run the
that
hose against the.
rather than running it all the way from the back or all the way from this side. This side is actually closer, but then we go in front of these stairs and across the road. And my concern when we do it from the back is that we cross the main entrance to Tracy Hall, and that always makes me nervous that we have.
Is it feasible to consider underground plumbing to install a faucet on the island? Is that expensive, prohibitive?
Well,
Does it
that's
cause?
not being asked for right now, but
We would love that, but we've never asked for that.
I will follow up.
Could it be a creative solution that you'd be prepared to consider?
Oh, having it in the island?
Yes.
Sure, but I know it's got to go through the state thing and all that. So all we just want to know is,
Going to be done.
can it be done?
Well, it's not going to cost us $10,000. We could maybe consider it? No?
Well, right now, we're just considering getting the faucet.
We're- yeah.
We'll look at that.
Small steps.
Yeah, that's all it's being.
And the Women's Club has donated to the town or given grants to the town before. So that is another option if that is the money issue is what it is.
Almost a threat.
No threat. Us little ladies, we don't threat.
To which she was entitled to.
Is the island part of, no, is it state land?
I think the island is state because Linda Cook kept telling us that eventually they're going to take the island out.
Yeah,
But I moved here in 2006 and it's still there.
right, so that can get trickier.
Could we make a carbon sequestration case, Rob?
Probably.
All right.
Let's keep moving.
All right, thank you.
And,
Mr. Chairman? Can I make
Yeah.
a public comment? It's not on the agenda. It's actually dead last in the packet and does not require action today. Speaking, Jan Losbrat, Chair of the Planning Commission. At your July 10th meeting, we need you, or we're asking you to address a potential grant application for a bike ped V-Trans grant, where there's an introduction to that in the packet under correspondence. And I just wanted to bring that to your attention and flag it to say, when we get to it on the 10th, we will be at deadline and we'll need action on the 10th to move this forward. So just, if you could please do the homework, come with questions, ask questions before, and we'll answer them before. But just so you're aware of that topic. Thank you.
thank you, Jan. Any other public comments? Items on the agenda? Seeing none, we have a item number 4, Norwich Fire Department spending request for new turnout gear. Entertain a motion on that. The information is very clear in the agenda, in the packet for firefighter gear. It's expensive stuff. They've got newer members, an ever-growing, rather overqualified group, if I can say that.
Flourishing and appreciated, I would say. I'll make that motion. I move to approve expenditures not to exceed $28,750 from Fund Number 26 for the purchase of new turnout gear for newer members of the Norwich Fire Department.
Second.
All right, Leighton Gear, any discussion?
I would like to commend the submitter, Chief Northern, for a very detailed, broken down invoice with precise demarcation of amounts. This is a big ticket item,
Yeah.
and the breakdown was much appreciated.
Let me hasten that, and thank you. However, I did not create that. That was done by the vendor. So, it is detailed, but I did not have anything to do with the detail. It was provided to us.
Take some reflected glory, Alex.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Any other discussion? Being none, let's vote. Clausen.
Aye.
Leighton.
Yes.
Gear.
Yes.
Sweat. Griggs is a yes. Terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 5, Lister's extension request for June 4th, 2026 abstract. This seems pretty straightforward. It may not be required, but they are asking for an extension in case it is. Do I have can anyone move the?
Yeah, I'll move it. I move to approve the Lister's request for an extension of 30 days from the State of Vermont Department of Property Valuation and Review order to prepare the most accurate 2026 grand list abstract as voted for by the listers on May 20th, 2026, and requiring select board approval.
Second?
Second.
All right. Discussion.
Did you want to talk? I have one question, extra question.
I came forward, Cheryl Lindbergh Lister, Chair. I came forward for any questions. And I know there's people that haven't done this before and some that have, so happy to answer any.
And it was discussed at the last meeting.
I brought it up in public comments. Yes, I did. So, sure.
Pretty clear.
So my only question is, this is the second time in 2 years that this has happened, but I understand that the past 2 years have, last year was crazy because of the.
It's been 3 years in a row.
Running. Okay, so my question is, next year, you've got a stable stable computer system, you've switched over, there's no townwide reassessment. Is it reasonable to expect that this will be on the regular schedule again?
Yeah, I would hope so, Matt. I am hope so of that, full of that. I do think the last 3 years have been situations that have been unavoidable, with KRT not getting the reappraisal done in '24, putting the burden on to the listers to get that done, '25, the lack of timeliness. Overall, kind of that summarizes what happened with the reappraisal in '25, and this year, the conversion to AP5 for 6 weeks instead of 3 weeks was really hurtful for us. I would like to add that we're down, hopefully this end of this week, we will have done all open permit visits. People have been really helpful and positive and all that to getting these permit inspections done. And then we come back and do all the work into the new system. We'll have a couple more next week to wrap up, but that's, we've pushed forward, but we certainly wouldn't make the approved deadline or the required deadline. So next year would be my hope. I, again, don't know how many hurdles you end up with along the way, but if there's a complement of listers on board and all of that, then hopefully it'll all work out well next year. It'd be great, because it ruins the summer.
There you go.
It does.
And on that note.
On that note,
Any
any other thoughts or questions? I'm happy to.
Well, thank you, Cheryl, for giving us the copies of the statutes and the highlighting. I have dug into Vermont statutes, but I have not even touched grand lists, so this is brand new to me.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Okay, and Mr. Chair, I'll get your signature on a real copy of the document. It's right around the corner and you can sign it tonight or tomorrow.
exciting. Barely wait.
And you do go by James period Chemo?
James Chemo Safford Griggs, yeah.
Okay.
James K. Griggs, Chemo Griggs, anything.
Fill it in for you. Have you signed. Thank you.
All right,
So you're going to vote?
let's vote. Hassan,
Aye.
Layton.
Yes.
Thank you.
Peer.
Yeah.
Sweat.
Yes.
Griggs is a yes. Terrific. Item number 6, review and approval of Sullivan Powers and Company Peace audit scope and objectives. Again, it's pretty clear. Amazing how many kind of little qualifications there are.
I have a question, are you gonna?
I'm looking for somebody
First
to
or-
move it and then we'll just.
Okay, I'll move it. I move to approve the review and approval of Sullivan Powers and Company, PC, audit scope and objectives, and direct that they be engaged to perform services as described and in accordance with the requirements of the town of Norwich.
Second.
Questions, discussion? Mary?
Yeah, I think in these audit engagement process, a lot of disclaimers about what can be discovered and what can't, so that's sort of normal. But I see on page 3, I could use maybe some discussion about, we've identified the following significant risks of material misstatement as part of our audit planning. Management override of controls. I don't know what that's about. And I had thought that our last audit, I've identified the DPW, control of cash flow. And then also, I think there was some posting, there was some work, I think, with the way that the money is posted that needed to be corrected too. I just don't know why this almost sounds like the end of an audit rather than the beginning, or if it's even a typo. So I don't know why that's in there.
Page 3.
Yes, it's on page 3 of the audit, yeah, or the letter.
Stands alone.
It kind of,
What does it mean? Management override.
well, it just jumped out at me. It's right after the section, or it's within the section that says auditors' responsibilities for the audit of the financial statements, and then you kind of go down to this section. So I don't know, maybe do you think it's a typo?
Well, it seemed like something maybe that they're adding to.
A fragment?
Is it an allusion to conflict of interest?
Well, see, it's just not clear. So that's, and maybe it's not, maybe we won't get an answer for why it's in there. I don't know if the town manager would know, or anyone would have perspective on that.
Hi. Do you have any idea why that, or what it means?
I have a vague memory of this same question maybe coming up last year, and I think, again, this is kind of the boilerplate contract that's sent out by the auditing firm, I assume, to every town. I think that was the answer, is that this is just part of their customary language. If you wanted to do a deeper dive into that, we could ask, via email, I suppose, for a better explanation of that exact sentence. If the board would be uncomfortable signing it tonight and asking that question and bringing this back. I don't know that there's an urgency that this has to be approved tonight. But I also, I think my answer is correct, that this is obviously part of their boilerplate contract and is just the language that they use.
So, Rob,
I think that it may be referencing the fact that the lack of control on cash at the transfer station has been noted for years. And therefore, by not having done anything, we have overridden their suggestion for putting it under control in some form.
So you think it might be a very specific and focused concern or potential criticism?
I think my suggestion, if we could approve this in 2 weeks and it doesn't make any difference, I guess I would ask, because it may be boilerplate, but that thing sticks out. It's formatted in a way that nothing else in the document is.
Right.
It's set in differently than other things. So if they have some specific concern, I guess we'd like to know what it is.
Okay, we will research that, and we can have a memo in the packet to accompany this same document for the 10th.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's important for us 5 members here, because if you look at page 7, it says our port will be addressed to the select board.
Yes.
So we're the primary recipients of this. So if there's any management control concerns, we want to make sure if it is or not affecting us, potentially.
Yeah.
And if we look at statute, it says the select board shall annually, before July 31st, acknowledge receipt and review the document made available to the auditor of accounts, which has been completed and provided to the select board by the treasurer. So the treasurer is involved in statute here as well.
Yep.
So just sticking to statute, I think it's the best thing we can do.
Okay, so we have a wildly waving hand.
I'm trying to point out her side, Phil.
Would you like to make a comment?
You're ready.
We're ready. And here, she deserves a cookie. She's been up 3 times.
I was meant to ask for one.
Offer that to John, he came up like 7.
So my comments as treasurer tonight, Cheryl Lindbergh, have to do with who this is written to. Once again, one of my constant reminders to this select board that this is your audit. That you ought to be getting this document as soon as possible. It is not something that should be kept from you. It is not something that you shouldn't be getting updates on. And it has been very disappointing to me that you're left out of this loop, because it is to you asking for the audit to be done. And I think the other part of this that you should be asking for is a more timely end result.
Yeah.
So I would urge you to consider those couple of things, and so that you have access to this audit as soon as it's available.
Thank you.
Can I have a follow-up question for you as treasurer?
Me?
Yes. We see it once it's gone through the draft process. Are you encouraging us to get it before the draft process, like as a draft and it's not finished?
Yeah. I mean, it's your report on what's going on, and I feel really badly at times that I'm the one that gets in on it quicker than you do. And you're the one that needs that feedback and understanding. And
My understanding of the process of doing this is that the draft is sent out to the people who, the treasurer, the finance director, the town manager, and they make sure that all the numbers were actually correct and put in it correctly, and that then once it gets out of the draft stage, like we get it immediately. So, but you're saying, like,
I don't know why you don't get the draft, is my question.
It would normally be proper for us to get.
It's not,
It's actually more than that, Matt. If you look at 2651, it says the select board shall contract with a public accountant licensed in Vermont to perform an annual financial audit of all the funds of all the town. So it's not like we receive the report, we initiate its execution.
yeah, no.
So I just-
This is a good and important document.
Yeah,
I'm
it
trying to
is.
Yeah.
Suss out your opinion on when it makes the most sense for us to start receiving the document.
yeah,
It's before-
I think you should get updates on the process of the audit. I think you should know more about what is going on and
Right.
where the pieces are. I have involvement in some of the ways that the audit gets done. And I think you've had, as I've said, many recommendations made to the select board as to items you should perhaps get done, like the inclusion of cemetery commission and trustees of public funds and things that, would help in the process of getting a combined set of financials done. So I feel like there's opportunity here you should have, take more advantage of.
Good.
And
Thank you.
Take more ownership of.
ownership. Thank you.
Terrific. So if we would like to forestall our approval.
We withdraw the motion. Yeah, I'd withdraw the,
Yeah, but Mary's point, I think, is important. I think.
Withdraw?
yeah, yep,
We got time, right?
Motion withdrawn?
yes. Well, I agree.
Aye.
Sounds Rob did. Oh, yeah, okay, yep, yep.
Motion withdrawn. Terrific. Okay. We will move on to, and we'll vote on this the 7th and get greater clarity. Any concerns? Thank you. Setting of transfer station fees. We would like to move this. Documentation's in the packet.
I'll move it. I move to accept the recommendations of the Solid Waste Committee and raise the cost of transfer station for fiscal year 2027 stickers to $45 for residents and $85 for non-residential, effective July 1st, 2026.
Second. All right. Any discussion?
Buy your cards quick.
Stock up on cards.
Yeah.
You can trade cards.
The cards aren't going up.
Yes, Mary.
I just appreciated the thorough analysis by the Solid Waste Committee. I thought they did a great job of,
Yeah. Fast.
comparing the past years and really laying it out for us. They've done a tremendous amount of work, I think.
As prices go up, revenue increases, but participation goes down, which is sad, but there it is. Do you think that's because people are producing less garbage or because they're
Maybe.
getting
Or
service?
just getting services elsewhere.
Oh.
It takes time to go to the transfer station too. I mean, I enjoy my time there.
Me too.
Then where would we talk to Jed?
Exactly.
All right. We have a hand raised in the back.
Oh, I'm on the solid waste committee, so I'm here too.
Do you want to come and take credit or something or?
That's okay.
All right, you're just waving and saying.
If you have a question, yeah.
All right, great. Well, let's vote. Klassen,
Aye.
Layton.
Yes.
Gear.
Yes.
Smith, Sweat.
Yes.
And Griggs is a yes. Terrific. Next is opioid settlement funds distribution. This was brought up by Matt, who produced the material for the packet. We don't have a specific motion yet. So yes, do you want to present? I'm not sure how to move this along.
Yeah, I'd be happy to begin. So to bring everyone up to speed, we started talking about this maybe in last October. The town has been receiving opioid settlement funds from a national settlement, and has been collecting it over time in a reserve fund. And we need to, it's kind of our civic duty to use this money towards what it's intended to do, which is to help the community, or either the local community or the, somewhat broader community, help to remediate some of the effects of opioid addiction. And so we had asked a number of people if they would like to come in and just kind of weigh in on where we might want to spend, how we might want to use that money. And I think the head of EMS service for the Norwich Fire Department, Matt Herbert, came in, and he also wrote a memo that's included in the packet. The police department chief, Romei, came in, also spoke about possibly, uses for it, and he wrote a shorter memo. And then the town community nurse basically deferred to the two other people. And I think we searched out with some other people who might have, interesting ideas, but we came up shorter on that. And so we now have this money, and I think it's time that we decide on kind of where we might want to put it to good use. The Upper Valley Turning Point, and then also in my memo, I included Exhibit E from the that really is very specific about the uses of it. And thank you to Brennan and his the town manager's staff, who kind of also helped push this along to us to make sure that that we weren't going outside our guardrails for what we could use it for. And so it's very specific, as you might imagine a national settlement to be, about what you can use it for. So it seems to me like Upper Valley Turning Point, as Matt defines it, is spot on for opioid addiction treatment. And we could consider donating all or some or whatever we want of the monies that we've received and held in the reserve fund towards that. I think that first step would probably be to task Brennan to reach out to them and just see how they could receive that. Like, if we're interested in donating money to Upper Valley Turning Point, how does that work? I'm assuming they're a nonprofit, like just how much we want to give. Is that clear enough?
Yeah.
Well, we don't have
or we could talk about other
motion, so
in this case, yeah, so go ahead.
I appreciate your recap of what we did, and I found Matt Herbert's memo to be very valuable in terms of that, he's had to deal with this issue for many years in a professional capacity. He also mentioned the Good Neighbor Health Clinic and the Norwich and Fire Police Department for kits. And I consider all three of those venues to be very specific about what they would spend the money on. And I'm interested in considering each of those and perhaps doing the process that Matt was talking about for each one. Like, maybe, if they were going to apply for this money, what would they do or how much would they need? I assume the kits would be a smaller ask than, the other two. But I'd love to have a way to responsibly clear out that fund and really get it out into the community. And also I want to thank Chris Katucki for nudging us on this for several years. It's like, is this still there? Have you done anything yet? So also just, giving credit for that.
Good.
Nudging.
Thank you. Yeah, agreed.
That's a good idea.
We have a hand raised.
Kurt Williams from Beaver Meadow Road. Just in terms of my experience with this, I've been essentially doing criminal law for about the last 30 years, but also have been involved with juvenile law and family courts around Chin's cases. And I started out as a private attorney, but for the last 22 years, it's pretty much been split exactly half as a prosecutor and half as a public defender. I can't tell you how many clients I've had die from opioid and other overdoses. As a prosecutor, I had to go to overdose scenes, deal with the bodies, release them for autopsy. I've seen just so many lives, even, kids through the juvenile courts destroyed by drug use. And when I saw the package, unfortunately I missed the Schedule E, I think, where in terms of the possible uses for distribution. But when I was thinking about this, for me, money that's come into the town, it's very important that it stay within the town. And so I was thinking of possible ways it could be used. And for my sense was where it could go towards would be EMS, fire department, and the police department. They're the ones who end up having that first response and end up dealing with all of this. I assume the police healthcare coverage would cover trauma training. There is tremendous amounts of secondary trauma that result from dealing with all of this. And I think having the money go towards those areas could make an impact. I think having some money go towards Narcan kits, training on an ongoing, like a fund set aside just for training folks to make sure that they know how to properly administer the Narcan. Another possible area would be a DRE training fund. DREs are drug recognition experts. There's training, which I assume is still being put on by VSP once a year in August. I went through it as a prosecutor about 9 years ago, I think. It's a 2-week program, sort of 9 to 5. You get put up in a hotel in Burlington back then. Then for the officers who are going through it, they would all have to go out to Arizona and basically do 10 evals at the Maricopa County Jail in about a 3-day period. Those would be, so it's a very long process, but having money set aside to cover any costs associated with having a DRE trained for the police department, I think could be very well spent in as a response. Having money potentially set aside, I would assume, for volunteer EMTs or fire department, that there might not be the same sort of health coverage. So having money set aside potentially to help with therapy costs could be helpful as well. I think places like Turning Point do a lot of good work. Because I'm practicing up north, I'm not incredibly familiar with their work, just with places like it. But I think with the money coming to the town, there's expenses that we can put it towards here, or even go to the Women's Club to set up a new recovery garden or something like that, or a program to help people from the recovery center come and do volunteer work and have a dedicated garden for them. Could be a potential cross program. Though you need to figure out the water supply. So those were just my thoughts when I looked at it. It seemed like, having areas within the town that could be addressed would be a good thing for it.
Good comments.
Great, thank you. Before you go, obviously your situation is very much practical, hands-on remediation, which is terrific. I'm a bit of an old research retired scientist guy. I'm looking at the last of the 9, the evidence-based data collection and research analyzing the effectiveness of the abatement strategies within the state. How do you view that? I know you probably haven't seen this Appendix E, right?
I haven't seen E. I was mostly focused on what people
gather research, gather more data, maybe collaborate with other towns, other municipalities. Do you feel that is a sort of top core priority out of the 9?
Probably not.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of different strategies that are ongoing, but part of it is there's so many, it's such an individual response. I think it's, there's a lot of things that can just be done on the individual level. I think the data collection is ongoing. Like I know there's the constant, when I was working up in Chittenden County, they had a monthly opioid response team, and they were tracking up there, where were the ODs, Google mapping it to look at the hot spots.
Right.
So I would assume that sort of work's being done.
It's already going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Mary?
I'm remembering back to, and thank you.
Oh, sure.
Yes, thank you.
I didn't know if there was a question for me or if I can.
No, I'm
skip
sorry.
out.
No, it's not a follow-up. So remember back to the meeting where Matt first presented these options, and also as another agenda item was about a homeless situation. And I think it's great to spend maybe the bulk or a large amount of this money, for instance, with the fire and police. But I also think that the people who need it are not sort of necessarily Norwich residents. You know what I mean? It's like, I think that the homelessness and the addiction are kind of intertwined. And the police department and fire department, they kind of know, and they talk with other adjacent towns, Hartford and Sharon, and they know of people that they move, they move around between the different communities. So I would support going a little bit outside of Norwich, for the Upper Valley Turning Point located in Hartford in the Good Neighbor Health Clinic, because I think that people who need this aren't necessarily Norwich residents. I think they're
more of a regional approach.
Yeah, I just think that we're talking about people who need this help. And I don't think that, I think that perhaps probably not always, but I just think those two issues of homelessness and addiction are very intertwined for many people in this area. So to rigidly confine whatever solutions we have to Norwich is all I'm saying.
Matt?
Just to switch hats here, as the deputy fire chief, a member of the FAST squad and training officer for the department, we have the state does an excellent job at making sure that we are well stocked with leave behind kits, which includes plenty of Narcan and how to get inserts that tell them how to get help and all that kind of stuff. The police department also gets lots of free leave behind stuff. And so that's kind of why it wasn't really, that's why it's harder to find something more local to spend it on here, is because the state is very supportive of all the free stuff that we would need. We also do overdose training, and not as much as the DRE training that you just mentioned. And so that would be an excellent thing to track down and see if the police chief thinks that his officers might benefit from something like that. They might already do that. I don't know. They do a lot of training, but that would be a neat one to track down. But as far as and we looked into getting some more AEDs for our FAST squad, and unfortunately that doesn't fit the very narrow criteria of stuff that we can spend money on. And so that was actually, it was very helpful to see Exhibit E, was that it was really narrow as far as you have to really use this money for directly helping with opioid addiction stuff. And so even spreading out and thinking about homelessness being kind of intertwined, I think that if we give it to, if we use it for something that's more specific for homelessness, I think that might also fall outside the boundaries of what we can use this money for.
That's interesting.
Unfortunately, because it's a network, there's a network of reasons why someone might have opioid addiction, but this money is really only for directly
addressing that.
Working on that, yeah.
Okay. Rob, you have.
Yeah, I'm a strong advocate for training And so the question I would have is, from a training standpoint, as he mentioned, the dealing with trauma and the effects of working with people who've overdosed or have addiction, strong addiction issues. Does that, do you think, fall within the range of what's possible with the money, what's allowed?
You can certainly use it for that,
Yeah.
but like we do all that training for free anyway.
Anyway,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. We actually, this month, we just did a big training.
Okay.
And sometimes we'll train with other departments, like, with our ambulance department, with our responding ambulance as well. Or we've had, there have been other times where we've had a state trooper come in and do the drug recognition program, but it wasn't nearly as comprehensive. It was like a half day kind of thing. But all those things are covered.
So how would you like to get to a motion? Maybe
We
not.
could just direct the town manager, if everybody's okay with it, we could just direct him to reach out to kind of Upper Valley, Turning Point, Good Neighbor Health Clinic to see, and I guess,
Some feedback.
yeah, ask, and then I guess reach back out to Norwich Fire and Police Departments to just see if there are any specific proposals that they could use the money for. Great. And like, kind of like what you said, like a
Right.
grant request almost.
Yeah, almost like a grant proposal kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is something you'd like to take on, or we'd like the town manager to take on, or
I think it'd be great for the town.
Town manager, if he's willing.
do you have enough to go on there? or-
Well, this is what I might suggest. Exhibit E that Matt has referenced a few times is in the
Yeah.
packet. I think it would be helpful if everyone on the board really takes a amount of time to study that and understand the prohibitions, like the allowed uses. Because we could ask a bunch of people, like, what would you do with this? But I feel like there are some really limited available uses that the money can go for. And I think Matt has identified them in Upper Valley. Turning Point, I heard Good Neighbors. So if I'm understanding that, those would be the two entities you'd like the town manager to contact and just ask. I guess I'm not completely clear on what I'm asking them, because if we say we have money, would you like some? I think they're going to say yes. So I guess be a little more specific about what we're trying to learn.
Well, I would think you would want to learn, if they did accept money, how do they accept money? What percentage goes to programs? What percentage goes to administration? Might be an interesting thing to learn. But how do they accept the money?
Okay,
It's
that's
just
a
worth-
simple one.
Yeah, because my main question is the Good Neighbor Health Clinic. I'm not sure how, I'm not sure the direct connection with opioid addiction with that. And so if they do have it, then it's worth asking them that question. How they would use that money if the money is really earmarked for opioid addiction.
Yeah.
And remediation.
Yeah, the other question on the reporting end of this, so if we were to, give money to one of those entities, I think we would have to have a pretty clear mission statement that ties it directly into opioid, mitigation, opioid use mitigation. And I'm not familiar with Good Neighbors at all. So, yeah, I have enough to make some inquiries.
Mary.
Just a follow-up question. Would it make sense in the inquiries to ask these organizations if they are familiar with Exhibit E, or else to say that we cannot distribute the funds unless they comply with Exhibit E? Just in the inquiry. They may already be familiar with it.
The use thing.
I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I have enough to make some inquiries and have a understanding of what they're doing and how it would tie in, I think.
Okay, thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, question for
Yes.
Matt. So Matt, you said in your memo, which is really good, so 32,980 is the current balance?
Yeah.
Is that the annual amount, or how is it likely to play out over the years?
Brendan can speak to this better, but I believe we've received, that's a large sum.
Yeah.
And I think that we're going to be getting much smaller sums over the course of at least the next couple of years. But I think it's in the thousands, but he would probably know better about this. We've received a really large two sums, I think. And, but we're expecting more, but not in the same, not this annually.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's a good explanation. We've not gotten like a schedule where it says you're going to get X amount of dollars from this fund every year. It just kind of seems to come in a proportion based on what the state gets, and then it gets dispersed or broken out into different municipalities. So I think it will continue to repopulate, but I don't know for how much or for how long.
I guess where I was going with this was, if we spread it out too thinly, do we have an impact anywhere, or is it just too diluted? Or do we focus on a handful? That's just a out there question. It's not something we need an answer on now.
So I guess I'm asking if someone here might want to focus their attention on bringing this to a boil so that we can actually have a motion at some point.
I'm happy to keep, unless you want to.
No, you go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm happy to keep
Sort
running
of
with
watch
this.
over it a little bit,
Yeah.
bring it back. Okay.
Great. So no motion on number 8 today, correct?
Correct.
We'll move on to number 9, Town Manager Report. Congratulations on getting Jonathan on board.
Yeah, would you like me just to kind of do a little quick synopsis here? I know folks have had a chance to read the document. Yeah, I was gonna just call out that Jonathan De La Briere, who was our finance assistant here and started in January, was one of our applicants. And after a interview process of all of the applicants, he was chosen and has accepted the job. So that's good. We'll have about a month and a little more than a month of overlap with Barry, retaining kind of her duties as finance director, and Jonathan, will hold the title, but he'll be kind of training and learning from Barry. And at that point, when Barry is officially resigned and has left the town, Jonathan will be hopefully ready to really step right into the role, which is a difficult role and a complex role. So we'll have to work with him and be patient as he learns the ropes over the first couple months of being here in that role. We're also looking to hire hopefully as soon as we can, really, the finance assistant position that he's going to be vacating. So we're gaining a finance director, but we'll again have a vacancy there in the office. And I think I'll just jump ahead to
Brennan, before you go on, I just have a question on the COLA adjustment. You've got a figure of 3.92. That certainly seems about right. It's a bit up from last year, 2.8. But I'm just wondering, the final COLA is determined in October, correct?
No, the final goes into effect on July 1st.
July 1st.
Fiscal year.
Fiscal year. Okay.
That's why we're announcing it now. So all employees, yourselves included, will see a 3.92% increase your first payroll after the 1st of July.
You mean we're going to get more than $10 a week as select board members?
As crossing guards is your employment.
Oh, crossing guards.
Mary.
Yeah.
Mary.
And it's a 5-year rolling average, is that right, Brennan?
Correct.
Because I think maybe it'll, would otherwise spike up in the next year, I would think.
Yeah.
So it will go up, but maybe not spike quite as much.
It comes out of the collective bargaining agreement, and it's a 5-year rolling average. So it's kind of eliminating those major spikes if a year changed one way or the other.
Yeah, I guess where I'm going with this questioning is that at the town meeting, we had a question from a member of the public several members, I think, about the breakdown of the sum total increases in salaries that were not broken down into merit increase, COLA, and off-cycle appointment adjustments. So just wanting to make sure that we have a good heads up for town meeting next year, when all the budgets are presented, just a breakdown of these things, the COLA, the merit, and the off-cycle appointments. I think that's important because someone's asked that at the town meeting previously.
Okay.
Okay.
So actually, I'll stop and just talk a little bit about DPW. So the Mitchell Brook Road Culvert project is completed. That was successful. The Moore Lane Bridge project is underway. If anyone's been out that way recently, you'll see that the entire wooden structure has been uncovered, and all or most of what we can get to as far as the emulsion has been removed by Clean Harbors. And so the next steps are going to be sealing that and placing a water impervious membrane and then rebuilding the asphalt on the bridge. We are also going to be looking at, if you remember, the option that we chose was also calling for some annual maintenance to be part of that process. So we're looking to, on the underside of the abutment where most of that emulsion is showing, doing a clean of that, repainting that, and putting in a new ledger board that's serving to kind of catch anything that it's gotten through. And I think what that will allow us to do when this is completed is to kind of have more of a fresh view of anything that may be still moving in the summer months. So I know Chris is working with the engineer on this and with Clean Harbors to kind of come up with how can we mitigate this to the greatest extent possible, and then how can we do a good job of keeping an eye on it so that we don't get into a place where, again, a contaminant is reaching the stream below. And then the last comment, you might have seen the street sweepers out today, and they were out in the village and will be here tomorrow as well. And then the work on the Route 132 culvert is slated to begin in the next 2 weeks. That will be mid-June. I don't think we have a final exact date yet, but we will be getting the word out to folks about what that will look like as far as road closure and detours for that area.
Yeah, Brennan, just on that one, I was up at Sweetland Farm the other day, just picking up some stuff, and I spoke to Nora Lake, and we discussed about the upcoming 132 culvert. And I'm just wondering, is it on the north side of Sweetland or the south side?
South.
South.
Yeah, south.
South of the junction.
It's between the intersection with Union Village Road and then Waterman Hill, like headed towards Route 5.
Okay.
It's in that direction.
All right.
Yeah.
So these notifications will include like dropping a note to Sweetland and letting them know what's going on.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how we're going to do the notifications. I don't think we would go to every individual homestead or business, but we are going to make it publicly known kind of when this is going to happen and what the detour routes are going to look like. Okay, so I'm going to continue on. So some
Matt
notes.
had a couple of questions, I think, about.
Okay.
I had some more Lane Bridge questions.
Okay.
I think when we wrote the spec and then approved it, there was some extra money put in just in case, because they weren't entirely sure what they were going to find when they took everything apart. And so some extra money was put in to, I don't know, take out more if possible. Do you know whether that happened or not?
I think we're not quite at a point where I can give you a good estimate of where we are in the project. In talking with Chris, he feels like we are still below the threshold that was approved. So we'll probably know a little bit more about that in the next week or so.
Okay. And then the other question I had was, is there a paved sidewalk that's going in as well, or is it kept flat so it will shed water on both sides?
So it's going to be, there's no raised sidewalk in the design. It's going to be just the paved asphalt with a large visible stripe that will demarcate where the pedestrian walk would be.
Okay. All right. I assume that's so that it'll shed water better.
Yeah, a number of reasons, but that is one of
That's a
them.
good point, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, snow removal is a lot easier without a raised sidewalk as well.
I'm just noticing that Peter Orner has his hand up.
He does.
We're maybe not done with the report yet.
Peter
Yeah,
Orner.
I can get through this pretty quickly, and then if
Oh.
I imagine Peter wants to talk about the bridge perhaps. So the roadside ash tree removal project, we have signed a contract with Wilcox Tree Service, and they are coordinating a little bit with our Emerald Ash Borer Management Group and are looking probably to begin work on July 1st, is what we were told, which is next week. So that will be kind of as their schedule allows work. I'm sorry?
July is a month away.
I'm sorry. June. Did I say July? I meant to say June. June 1.
Okay.
Yep. So anyway, stay tuned. You'll probably see vehicles out. We will also do some heads up for road work and where people are going to be once we have a good handle on their schedule. Some of this isn't terribly important. We did get 2 award notices in the last month, $20,000 Better Roads grant and a $26,000 grant and aid from VTrans. So that's good news and helps us leverage some money with our projects that are underway. As Kimo already mentioned, the shed, the equipment shed that was on the town green has been relocated. My understanding is that Bree and one of her family members and a couple volunteers also moved some of the remaining equipment that had been kind of left out there after the shed was emptied, so that shed is, or that area is ready for the festivities on Sunday at the gazebo. So I want to, I guess, thank Bree for taking that on and being proactive. Kimo, I might have seen you out there as well, so thank you if you were one of those volunteers. And then I guess the last thing, just to make people aware of this, there's no action required, but we were notified that a new union called the United Federation of Police Officers is looking, I guess, to take over from the New England Police Benevolent Association, and that is a legal process that goes through the Vermont Labor Board. So we're kind of watching that. I've had some contact with our town council about what that means, if anything. We have been assured that it is not going to affect our current collective bargaining agreement, even if a change is made kind of in the middle of this process or in the middle of the term. So I guess, again, just a heads up in case you hear of that in some way. It doesn't seem like it's necessarily going to affect us as far as our bargaining agreement. And I think that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Any questions, discussion? No. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Peter Orner, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Kimo.
You
Just
are. Hi.
a couple of quick questions. Thank you for the update on the Moore Lane Bridge. I just had one basic question is, this is what's being done now. We were told numerous times over the past 8 years that this wasn't possible and that it wouldn't solve the problem. So I am heartened by the fact that the argument now is that this is going to solve the problem. But my question is why would we need the ledger board if we're removing all of the material that's supposed to be they're removing all the chemical discharge? Why would we are we paying for Clean Harbors to do what they already did, which clearly didn't work? The ledger board just goes right over it. It's not, I don't know if you've seen some recent pictures, but it hasn't caused any amount of emulsion not to come down off the bridge. That's my first question. And my second question is, how much has all this cost up to this point? I estimate it's been at least $300,000, if not more. Are we going to be paying more, even more? It's because what I heard you say is we're still within budget, but is there more to come? And if that's the case, what's the total price tag of all this. I think the town should know. And this, my last question is, when's that stripe going in? Are we gonna have to wait for the thing to go on whenever it does, or is that gonna happen fairly immediately? Because we do have a pretty big problem with speeding on Moore Lane. People go, I mean, it's a tiny little street, but the speeding is like it is on Beaver Meadow and like it is on Turnpike. Just a complete epidemic. Today, 5 p.m., crazy. Anyway, those are my questions. Thank you.
Okay, I can probably try to answer those. So the first question was, is this going to eliminate every, all of the emulsion that we believe is in the bridge? I think the answer is no. I don't think that was ever stated or promised. I think this is a way to mitigate the emulsion that's moving through the bridge. So that might not be an answer that you enjoy, but that is the purpose of this project, is to mitigate the environmental impact of having emulsion that's getting out of the bridge, down the abutment, and into the waterway.
Can I just follow up real quick? Because that's
I don't really want to get into a back and forth debate. I think we've done that. It's not
a back and forth
like
debate. It's just the fact that the state was very clear that the discharge cannot reach the brook. They told you 3 years ago. It's continued daily in the summer, and it's continued through the spring. So every day, emulsion is reaching the brook. There's a boom in the brook to capture these chemicals. I don't know how that's affecting the wildlife at all, but it's been there for 2 weeks. So I'm just wondering, I feel like we're getting another, and forgive me, because I do believe, and I trust you, Brendan, I know you believe this could work, but I feel like we're getting the same kind of vague answer, like this might work, we're trying our best. I don't see this happening on any other bridge in town. Why can't we definitively say we're going to stop this discharge and we're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to do it? Somebody's got to tell me this is going to stop. That's all. I'll leave it there.
Okay. Well, I guess my answer to your second question is, the ledger board is a redundant safety measure to keep emulsion, should it move through and onto the abutment, from reaching the waterway, as are the absorbent booms that have been placed there on the underside of the bridge. It's all really trying to mitigate the ability of that emulsion to leave the bridge and enter the environment. And your third question, related to the costs, we're working on this. We've put effort and money into different iterations trying to remedy the problem. I think you respect that we're all working hard to try to mitigate the problem. We did, as I mentioned in that option that was chosen, have a month or annual costs that the engineer was putting into the project and saying, you guys really ought to keep track of this, have Clean Harbors or another entity come out, once a year or twice a year, or maybe more, and inspect the bridge and make sure that things are solid and stable. So that would be the additional cost going forward that was part of the original board's approval of that option.
I did ask about the $300,000 at least. Is that?
I think that's probably a fair estimate, Peter, after the multiple years we've been working on it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thanks for that discussion. And I guess we'll move on to our next item number 11, town manager goals. I included something rather late. I apologize for that. But I tried to take the materials that the town manager gave us and put them in a similar format to the one that I put together from all of our original documents. We started with something called proposed town manager goals and objectives, and also one for proposed select board goals and objectives. So I tried to take the three documents that we received from our town manager and remove the information that seemed to apply to setting goals, removing information that applied to assessing performance. The main document that we've been using to set select board and town manager goals and performance, we've had all three of those in one document. And it's a little confusing because they aren't actually select board goals really, except maybe minimally. And setting goals for the town manager at the same time that you're listing the annual performance evaluation seems difficult, at least to me. So I tried to separate them out. And the things that I separated out from the, this is on page, of the, I guess, 92 of the packet. The number one goal listed in the 2025 Select Board and Town Manager Goals and Town Manager Annual Performance Evaluation document was maintain town functions, with a few things below it. The number two was attend to disasters and unforeseen events affecting the town as needed. These didn't strike me as goals as much as what the job is. The goals could be above that, like, yes, Mary.
Even though it's sort of redundant and they need to be done every year, I still think they need to be in there.
They do.
But they're just a baseline.
Well, I mean, that's what the job description is. You maintain the town functions, yes.
It's important, I think it's just important that it's stated, even though it's the
Agreed.
job. That's all.
I agree, yes. I just think the goals can be set above that.
Well, maybe we're just sort of,
Well, let me keep going.
Okay.
I also saw number three goal, special project, Tracy Hall improvements to heating system and so on. Number four was special project, Tracy Hall improvements initiative. And number five goal, special project miscellaneous. Those are the things I pulled out of that document that we mostly used, I think, for evaluation. And I'm not criticizing that documentation as an evaluation form. I'm just trying to pull the goals out so that we can
describing them, yeah.
maybe set goals separately from thinking about evaluation, which is, for me, in my experience, typically what is done. You set the goals, and then you find a way to evaluate performance based on, knowing that things change and shift. So on page 93, I just said that, that goals 1 or 2 seem more like minimum job requirements because it's the job of the town manager to make sure the town's running well and attend to unforeseen disasters, maintenance update, and so on. There's nothing wrong with that. This is not a negative. Just I think that our TM provided a memo outlining ideas and best practices for TM evaluations from the Municipal Solutions Summit, as well as a list of ideas, some aspirational. And some of those seem really good for the setting of goals. The ideas listed on page 2 suggest develop policies for collaborative collegial engagement of town staff, and so on, develop policies regarding town manager autonomy for approval by select board, develop feedback mechanisms to help determine satisfaction of town residents, establish procedures, effective communication between office of TM and committees, develop plans for improvement of public buildings and infrastructure. So when I took that and our comments together, starting on page 90, bottom of page 94, I wrote down some proposed town manager goals to consider. Goal 1 being management, overarching goals to improve the management performance and benefits of human resources in Norwich. So develop policies for collaborative collegial engagement, develop policies regarding town manager autonomy, develop feedback mechanisms to help determine. These are all things that are underneath that larger goal. But that seemed like perhaps a worthwhile goal to establish. And then there are many things that could come under that could be assessed and could be worked on. The second one was communication. The overarching goal is to improve communications with citizenry and with the select board. Goal number 3 was the town. Overarching goals to assess our public infrastructure, propose maintenance and or improvements that recognize and support the dreams people have for Norwich. And then number 4 was reporting to select board. Overarching goals to create an effective, well-run governing body. Anyway, that was my stab at this. I attached a bunch of documents, including the select board and town manager goals collated by me based on what you had written. Performance review summary from the town manager. Sorry, I forgot the Y in summary. The town of Norwich 2024 select board and town manager goals, town manager annual performance evaluation as approved for use on 3/8/24, town manager self goals. So those were the supportive documents that I tried to pull out in the hopes that we could have a discussion about a fairly straightforward overall set of goals. I view the sort of judging performance as coming after this. And that's where I got, and it took far longer than I anticipated. Mary.
I really appreciate the effort and what you came up with. And I agree with almost like 90% of it, and just have a few questions about some of it. In the past, sometimes when we receive a document like this, we'll read and discuss before deciding about it. I don't know if that, if that process is a good idea this time. We'd have a first reading and then we'd, send in our comments, but mostly I think it is a huge effort, and it's hard to condense all that information and to come up with some clear goals, but I think it's a very good, first draft. Mostly done draft, I would say.
Yeah.
So, I do have comments, but I don't know if I should make them tonight or not, or if they'd seem nitpicky.
I'm happy with anything. I just want the process to be a healthy.
Yeah.
For everyone. Town manager, the town, us. Yes, Mr. Klassen.
Shall we hear from our employee?
Well, I think discussion of the select board is important first. It's our job to set goals with the town manager, but if we have a clear idea of what those goals might be, that I think would be helpful and non-inflexible, I think we should probably try to do that. Matt?
I wanted to echo you for Mary's thanks, because when I read through this, actually, I'd like to point out, this came through today.
5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Right.
And so like, I appreciate all the work that you did on it. And I agree that it is a giant step forward. And I really want to, and I actually want to give it the diligence that it's due, because I think you put a lot of effort into it, and I'd like to really sit with it. And at first reading, I felt like I got good vibe, like I liked it.
Okay.
But I think that talking about getting into the weeds tonight is probably not, I'm not ready to contribute to a really micro level right now. But I love it. And so I wanted to thank you for doing that. Yeah.
You're welcome. I think it's my job.
I have a question. PO, performance objective, what is?
I actually don't know. I just put it in verbatim. We can ask.
I do think.
PO, do we know what PO is, Brendan?
Brendan, you probably haven't had a chance to look at this very closely.
Either.
No, I really haven't. I got this about 1:30 or so when it was published in the amended packet. So I really haven't had a chance to look at it for any detail. I did have 2 questions. To answer your question, Rob, yeah, performance objective, I believe is what PO stands for. I want to comment that this is maybe a question for the chair. So in that bunch of documents that you published in that amended packet, there is actually a summary of a performance evaluation that was done on my work. And that is confidential. That is a private document that the select board and the employee have worked on through a process that's confidential. So I guess I would love an explanation of why you thought it would be proper to publish that in a packet.
What page?
I was not aware that
108.
found performance,
108?
I was not aware that it was confidential. I thought that was just a public document and that it had been published.
Well, did you check that? Because it was not. It
No,
was
I
probably.
didn't, I didn't think there was a reason to check it, and I, you know, all I can do is apologize. It certainly didn't seem like something that, well, I mean, that's my answer. No, I didn't check that. I had it in a folder that is dedicated to public documents, and
Okay. Well, again, I think in most cases, an employee's evaluation is confidential between the employer and the employee and not subject to public disclosure. That other piece here, I guess, is, you know, we seem to be trying to rewrite the process that we've used for the last 2 years and the existing template that we've used. And we're going to be into June before we get this moved or completed. And this evaluation is supposed to be conducted for this, you know, current year that we're in the middle of September. So I guess what I might suggest is admitting that we missed a deadline that would have been very useful to start this process much earlier in the year and to look at having this ready to go into effect for the next year after the evaluation or at the same time. Because I do feel like this is somehow being rushed right now. Like this is a major change to what we've done over the last 2 years. Those documents and templates that you had included, you know, a lot of time was spent on that, coming up with those, making them very similar, I think, to what the evaluation for the other town employees. So I guess I welcome the effort. I thank you, Chemo, for taking the time and thought you put into this. But to me, you know, it does have to be kind of a collaborative process, and it hasn't felt like that today, I guess.
well, I think the effort here was to begin collaboration by putting something together that I think has greater clarity. You know, a document that says Town of Norwich, Select Board and Town Manager goals, and Town Manager annual performance evaluation, that is a very difficult document for me to understand. Is it your goals? Is it your evaluation? Is it our goals and our evaluation? I don't really.
Can I try to answer that? Chemo, can I try to answer that for you?
Well, it wasn't really a question, but sure.
Okay. Well, so again, this is the third year that this document would be used. I think at one point in a very public discussion where we had talked about this for, you know, meetings and meetings, it was understood that the select board goals are not evaluated, but that the town manager's success relies on, you know, a relationship and a collaboration with the select board, and that's what will allow him or her to be successful in the role. So I think that's where that term, that's why select board and town manager are on the title of that. Obviously, in the template, there's no select board evaluation going on. It's a way to track the goals that were set forth in that document with the performance objectives to attain the goals, and to then have an evaluation form that the board is able to use for the annual evaluation. So if we're moving away from that, I'm not opposed to that. I would like to have time to like look at things and digest them before we start talking about them in a public meeting. And you know, I did see on a motion sheet that there's an actual motion to accept this document as it was provided today, which seems wildly unusual. Like it should be a process of all of us getting a chance to think about it and come back and comment on it and work through it. I feel like that's going to take some time myself. So again, I wish we had started the process, you know, before we got to June here of rewriting a template that would be used for next September.
Mr. Chair.
I think we all agree on that, and I only put the motion in there in case everybody, including you, suddenly said, well, this is great. Then we could have had a motion, but no one's saying that, and we'll take more time. Yes, Brendan.
So I think, Brennan's point is correct in terms of the lead time for this. And I will point out that we really kicked this off, Brennan, in your office on April 1st. And that's not an April Fool's joke. And we've been struggling to seek an alignment with you on this. And, to have the five of us sit down and methodically propose and suggest goals, which were very carefully thought out from all five of us. We all made a concerted, good faith and intentional effort. And I've said this before in this forum, and I'll say it again. Our objective is to set you up for success. And we're not trying to trip you up. We're not trying to blindside you. We're not trying to reinvent the whole thing. But, to have responses from you that there may have been a misunderstanding. I don't think it was appropriate to go through the goals one by one and say, this is smart, this is nonsense, this is insulting. And this was published in the Valley News. So this is really not helpful to have this type of response to a concerted five-person effort. And we are your manager. We represent the people of this town, and you report to them through us. We're not bossing you around. We're not trying to steal your autonomy. We're not trying to micromanage you. We're trying to work with you. And I just do not see a like-minded effort coming from your side. I'm just stumped by this.
Yeah, I don't really know how to respond to that, Brennan. You earlier in the special meeting went out of your way to make it appear that I had nefariously tried to redact statements from a document to make people look good or bad. So if that's not an attempt to blindside the town manager in a public meeting, I do not know what is.
But that's not what we're discussing right now, guys. What we're discussing, I think on the 2nd of April, I produced a document that was formatted differently. And it had town manager goals and objectives, and it had proposed select board goals and objectives. My hope was that you would see that and work with us to adjust within that format. So it's fine that you didn't, but the 3 documents you sent me were not coordinated in any way, and they didn't match the efforts we had made. So I've gone to the effort of taking your 3 documents and trying to match them to the effort we made initially to set up proposed town manager goals and objectives and proposed select board goals and objectives. I've changed them to include the documentation you provided. And I think that we have a fairly good proposal. It's not finished. I don't think it's, the best proposal in the world, but it is a pretty clear proposal that gives you a lot of room to decide what fits within and underneath those overarching goals. So I think given a little time here to absorb this and look at it, I think all of us might come back maybe with some written comments and look at it and see whether it is workable or not. That's what I would ask. Certainly not going to be critical of anybody at this point. It is true that we could have set these goals earlier. It is in your contract that we set these goals. You never asked for us to set them, and we didn't set them. We're both, all parties are culpable in this. We should have started earlier. We didn't. So here we are. We're trying to get through it. I don't think there's a big rush. We want to do it well. And yes, Rob.
So is it my understanding that this format is not something that we are using as a performance analysis, performance tool?
Which format are you referring to, Rob?
This newer discussion of goals and so on. At this moment, coming up on your annual review, this is not what we're using at that time, but likely to be what we're proposing going forward?
All I'm trying to do is set goals right now.
Right.
Once we have goals set, we can decide how we're going to analyze and judge performance. But until you have the goals, you don't have anything to judge. So I think we can come up pretty easily with a fair, helpful way to judge performance based on the goals that we set.
I think, if I may, can I jump back in here? So I think the miscommunication here throughout the last 2 months, month and a half of this process has been, are we revising and redoing the existing template that we've used for 2 years? Because I was working under the framework that that was how we were moving forward, at least for this year. And it sounds like now that is, at least from Chemo's standpoint, not an acceptable document and should be, revised and edited and changed. I just want to address, this is a 5-member board here. So hearing the thoughts and comments of 1 or 2 members, in a meeting to set an agenda is really, I don't think fair to me to try to decipher, is that the will of this board as a whole? Because I haven't heard from other members of the board that they felt that the existing template was not a good document to use for the next 3 months until we get to the end of my evaluation period. So I guess I'll just say that is, if there's been miscommunication or that we've dragged this longer than it needs to be, it's probably because I really didn't have an understanding of what I was being asked to contribute. I was not told to revise this in a new way. It was, come up with your ideas for your own goals, which I thought I did for the packet 2 meetings ago.
Mr. Chair.
I mean, yes, I was under the impression that we are so late to the game for providing him with fair, goals and assessment at this point for the upcoming assessment. So I was under the impression that we would look at that we would use the previously used format with perhaps some small upgrades. I know Mary had suggested some upgrades as far as like, instead of using the 3, possible evaluation metrics, you'd use either 4. She used the grade system.
Right.
I would prefer 5, because then you could have something that's in the middle, slightly good, really good, slightly bad, really bad, and like trying to improve that a little bit, and then take what you have created here and perhaps either flow that into the evaluation form that we currently are using, made better.
Could be.
Or I think that it's much easier to change things a little bit and keep improving than it is to kind of start from scratch. But I loved how you organized all your thoughts in the different goals and sub-goals here. And that's kind of what I was reflecting on initially. But I think, to be fair, and again, only one person's opinion, but to be fair to the town manager, it's we should understand that we're very late in providing goals for this coming evaluation that's coming up in 3 months. And we should just do the best we can with that, and then do better as we go forward.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that about evaluation, but we're really not talking about evaluation yet. I know that will come up.
Yeah.
I know that people want to talk about it, and I know that's what you're worried about. But I've been told many times that the town manager's goals get set when there's a new board.
Yeah.
Makes no sense to me. I don't want to do that anymore. It's not what's according to the contract, but that is what I was told. And so that's because when the contract was done, I said, that's our job. We need to set goals then.
Right.
And I was told by the board, no, we set them later when there's a new board set. And so that got us to spring. So between October and March, there were no goals. And now we're trying to set goals. This is the town managers asked for goals to be set, and we weren't setting goals. So, yeah, we're a little late on this, but no matter what, we'd only have 5 or 6 months to judge, which is odd. So I'm looking forward to having that changed in the future. I think the goals we set can be, the forum can be adapted for these new goals. I don't think that's going to be a problem. But we should be setting goals. And then we can figure out how we evaluate the performance. Yes, Mary.
We'll get there, I think. It is a struggle. The timing of when we have to do it always feels a little out of whack with town meeting and getting new people on. I just wanted to support this document, Select Board and Town Manager goals and Town Manager dual performance evaluation, because I think as an educator, the goals and the evaluation are very tied. Why do you have a goal? Because you want it to be accomplished and you want to evaluate whether it's been met. So to see both the goal and the expectations, to me, that makes perfect sense. And also that there's not a lot of verbiage. It could kind of condense down what the goals are, to me is helpful.
Yeah.
And also that if it's a little bit more condensed, you can also think over what time period could this be accomplished? For instance, if it's Tracy Hall, are we talking a visioning? Are we talking a piece of it like the elevator? And also getting back to our SMART goals. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-based. And to me, this format lends itself a little more to this. But the other aspect that I really like about your thinking, I think it's more strategic. And at times, the board has tried to do strategic planning. It's like bigger, way up there. And really, things like the way the Planning Commission is thinking about how the village should be. And how people have asked for years for the bike paths and safe walking spaces. To me, that's like the overarching, and that needs to be part of it. But what gets really hard is when it all gets tangled together, kind of like yarn, when you get it all tangled up. So if we can separate some of the pieces out, I think, ultimately that would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's what
general comments.
Yeah. So I think we set the goals. It's going to be easy to take these goals and then figure out how we assess performance. That's not going to be hard. And it's going to look a lot like that document, or maybe just like that document.
Okay.
But working with that document and trying to
you
set
mean,
goals
yeah, I see what you
is
mean.
impossible.
I see what you mean.
For
Yeah.
me, anyway.
To get to the goals, yeah. Okay, I get it.
So, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I think arguments around the template are somewhat of a distraction. It's the content.
Yes.
And that's where I wanted a bit more time to read
Yeah.
what he wrote.
So let's take more time
Yeah.
and
Maybe do some memos.
we're going to assess and compare and
Mr. Chair?
come back. Yes.
May I respectfully suggest we agree a deadline and all 6 of us adhere to it?
When's your next?
Mary.
I agree with that. And also that Brendan had made a suggestion that it's helpful for us to write memos. So if we each submitted a memo that's our reaction to this, things we'd like about it, things we'd like to tweak or areas that are not included.
Would you like
Our next meeting,
Would you like a
that would
Word
be-
document to work on?
what is it?
Would you like a Word document rather than a PDF?
Yeah.
I could send that out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, now what are you talking about there? Like taking this and putting it into one of those change?
No, I just send you a Word doc so you can edit it easily rather than a PDF.
Okay.
Just,
Well, okay, that gets complicated. I just thought we could, well, my idea for memos is just to generally respond. Like not edit, not go through, not recraft. I mean, if it's recrafting, we've done these things with, what do they call it, track changes. That gets really complicated, I don't think we want to get bogged down in
I
that.
just thought if you wanted an individual copy that you could, take pieces out.
No, I'll just use scissors.
I would. I understand what you're saying, and I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for your patience with this. Communications we'll skip over now, come back to 13, approve the minutes.
Demo.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chris.
Oh my gosh.
You got your hand up.
Good for you, Chris.
Yes, thank you
It
for
just became
speaking up.
such a regular thing. You just thought it was wallpaper.
I take back 13. We're not approving minutes yet. We are continuing our discussion. Please.
So, Chris Clement, Norwich. I wasn't sure if I should bring this up in public comment, but of course I saw that the TM goals were coming up and then that your proposals came a little too late. I looked at them. I thought they were great. I'm sorry that you're getting pushback from our town manager again. I find that incredibly disappointing. I think that Brendan was right that you guys have started doing this since April 1st. And Chemo, I remember back in September when somebody actually told you guys that it should happen in April, with the new select board. So there's seems to be a lot of different suggestions, but I still find it pretty disappointing that the town manager is still giving you guys a lot of pushback. I think you should add that to the evaluation. But anyway, then you also removed communication from the agenda. So once again, I'm trying to point out that I wasn't sure where and when to make this comment. And it is about the town manager, and it was brought to the public's attention that he may or may not be communicating with anybody during his remote days. And I'd like the select board to address it. I don't want it to be taken off the table. I'd like to know if this is something that's for real and if anybody else is having a problem with it. Because as far as I'm concerned, the contract does not say anything that remote days does not mean no communication with the town. I just want to make sure that, there is full communication, and that I would think would be part of his contract. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Matt?
I have had plenty of communications with Brennan on days where he is not, when he was working remote. Not that I have a lot of communications with him, but I certainly have never had problems when I've had questions or comments, concerns.
I think it's variable. Looking back at one of Chemo's emails from Friday, January 23rd, Brennan suggested we reach out to him to discuss this matter, which I've tried to do. I tried to find him in person in his office on Thursday, not in, and tried him twice by phone today, left 2 messages, neither responded to.
May I respond? May I respond, please?
You may.
Okay,
Please
thank you.
do.
So I read what was written in the listserv by Priscilla Vincent, and I was disgusted. It was completely false. I work very hard when I am working for the town, whether I'm remote working, whether I'm in Tracy Hall. I have communications that go on throughout my days, whether I'm working remotely or in Tracy Hall. Those are on email, those are by phone, those are in person. So to make an allegation with no proof at all that the town manager is not responding to messages, and it was somehow tied into this work of removing the shed or moving the shed, and somehow I wasn't responding to that, and it got then 2 paragraphs of and is even working. I mean, this is the history of Norwich. This is casting aspersions on the town manager.
Okay, I'm going to cut you off there.
Well, I think it's fair for me to respond, Chemo, because I've just been called out once again in public, and I was called out on the listserv, and it was unfactual and it was untrue. So I just want to be very clear that the town manager has used none of his sick time. I'm no longer even gaining sick time. I've never taken a long vacation. I've never taken probably more than a day or a half a day. And it's just, it's so disheartening to have the same people come back time after time and try to cast aspersions on my work. It's disheartening.
No, I understand that. I don't want to get it, but to give some context, and I don't mean this in a negative way, it's just factual. I did come in, you sent a letter out to the select board. It invited us to respond to you directly. I came in on a Thursday afternoon, you were not in the office. Later discovered you had left early, which is fine. I left a message on the phone machine that you had provided. You provided a phone number. I called it. I left a message. On Friday, I left 2 messages. I never heard back. On Monday, I left a message. On Tuesday morning, I bumped into you on the street and you told me you had gotten a message. And then I asked, what happened? You said you don't listen to your messages when you're not here. That's what you
not
told
what I
me.
said, Chemo. That's not what I said.
Okay. Brandon,
First of all,
I'm
if we're going to go
Brandon,
back in time to
please, Brandon,
January,
I am speaking.
I'll wait till you're done, but I would like to respond,
Thank you.
please.
That is the facts. I am reporting the facts. I've never reported this before. That is what happened. That is the context of what. Now, there is no argument to that. There are times when you have been hard to reach. We don't have your cell phone number. I'm not complaining about it. I'm just reporting facts that might have led to miscommunications. You, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So I am very aware of the timing of that. I believe I left Thursday. I believe I did take a day off on Friday, and I believe Monday was a holiday in that sequence of events. I believe you were calling me, Chemo, not emailing me and not calling my cell phone, which you do have, at least you do now. And
Don't
I
have
was
your cell
not, I was not getting the voice messages that were left on my office line. Since then, Chemo, I have been able to find out how to do a remote voicemail check for the town line, and I do that regularly. So if that alleviates any of the concern around that 2-day period, that has been rectified. I just want to make it very clear to everyone watching and listening to this that, this allegation that, hey, the town manager has remote work and he's not working is very, very untrue.
It's not the allegation, it's you're not contactable.
All right, enough, people. Are there any other comments?
Thanks, Chemo.
Yes, please. Chris? Hand is gone. Okay. We're moving on to approve minutes, May 13th, 2026. Any motion?
Minutes of 13th May.
May 13th. Yep. 13th May.
Motion and comments to follow.
Motion to approve the minutes
Yeah.
for May.
Okay, I shall move to approve the minutes as stated and listed.
You want to say which ones? I think it was the 27th of May.
Is it 20?
Oh, no.
Today's the 27th.
Oh, today's the
We're not that
27th.
quick.
May 13th, okay.
Yep, May 13th.
Motion.
Klassen and, has anybody seconded?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion?
AP warrants, item 12.
We are looking at approving the minutes.
Okay,
Are you looking at the AP warrants?
yeah, item 12 on the
On
minutes.
the minutes.
Oh, on the minutes?
Yeah.
All right.
What's the,
So I'd requested further detail about the attorney invoices from Stitzel, Page and Fletcher, the 5 invoices from January through to the present. I believe there's now a 6th invoice. The total is now $17,500. And I haven't seen the invoices yet. And I believe, Mr. Chair, you were promising to go to the town manager's office or the finance office on Monday, after the 13th of May, to secure these invoices. And I haven't seen them yet.
And I haven't secured them. So I will make another effort to do that.
and that does, oh, sorry, Ms. Chairman Griggs.
Yes.
So that doesn't affect, this is actually good because it says Klassen also requested further detail about the attorney's bill. So that request is properly documented in here.
Yep.
Right. And so he's talking about the follow-up. But the,
No, I'm talking about the request not having been met.
right, but if we're approving the
We're just
minutes,
approving the minutes.
Yeah.
Approving the minutes.
accurate.
It's accurate, and it's also important that that's included. And then, you know, the follow-up is too, but it's just not the subject at hand, I think,
Okay,
right?
I'm fine with that.
Yes.
I think so.
Clausen,
Aye.
Layton,
Yes.
Gear,
Yes.
Sweat,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Terrific. Sorry, I didn't realize it was going to be so loud.
Got to get one of those like rubber things that you can bang.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll get a slide
All
whistle.
right, we have
Whip.
AP warrants. Would anyone like to move these?
I'll move them, I guess. Let's see. I move to approve AP warrant number 1488 in the amount of $160,927.60 to be paid from the general fund, and AP warrant number 1489 in the amount of $89,097 to be paid from the police cruiser fund 11. Did we get that correct?
97 and 91 cents.
Oh, okay. And 91
Oh,
cents
yes, 91.
to be paid from the police cruiser fund 11. Thank you for that correction.
Second? All right. Any discussion? Hearing none. Clausen,
Aye.
Layton,
Yes.
Gear,
Yes.
Sweat,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Receipt of correspondence. Let's see. We received from Ariel Tanzi of Two Rivers Ottaquechee Regional Commission with a long and useful follow-up to the April 30th TRORC Select Board meetup that I reported on during last meeting. To see what they say agrees with what I said. And we received a letter from Carol Loveland asking if faucet access from Tracy Hall to the Triangle Church in Maine might be approved. Letter from John Carroll regarding progress and work ahead. Relative complaints by Mr. Katucki. Letter from Mr. Katucki himself expressing appreciation for our work directions for completing some tasks. Jan Laspierre wrote on behalf of the Planning Commission with a warning Select Board will be asked to take action during its June 10th meeting on a municipal resolution in support of the application to the Federal Aid Bicycle and Pedestrian Grant authorized by the Planning Commission in February. That is all in the correspondence. Would anyone like to move to receive same?
I move, oh, go ahead,
I'll move to receive all correspondence.
and I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussion? Voting. Clausen,
Aye.
Layton,
Yes.
Gear,
Yes.
Sweat,
Yes.
and Griggs is a yes. Terrific. I promised to put discussion of the June 10th Select Board on this agenda, and I did. So if there are things that would like to be on the next agenda, now is the time to discuss those. Rob?
Submitted two requests for inclusion of discussion on data recording, gathering and recording of fossil fuel usage, and I would like to see that there.
Will you provide?
With a direction, I will provide more detail.
For the packet?
Yes.
Okay.
And consideration as to whether or not reactivation of Article 36 Task Force to review the suggestions from 2021 for action to see if they're still relevant. And so I will include more information on that.
Great. Okay, so that will be in the packet. Terrific. We will have, I think, communications will be in the packet. We will probably have another take on town manager goals. Other, yes.
My promised expense and reimbursement policy, which I know I had promised for today. I apologize. And that has escalated. but I'll have it for next week, next time.
It's hard to get this stuff done.
And also I'd like to revisit the Stitzel, Page and Fletcher memo that I don't think was properly addressed tonight in its full capacity.
Okay.
I have a question about framing that agenda item.
Yes.
So, I think it's about really evaluating the firm that we have and, making sure that we want to move forward. I mean, it seems like a serious enough critique. It may go beyond the memo, is all I'm saying. That I think the concerns have been very tied to our discussions about the open meeting law violation and the Public Records Act. But the firm has done some very good work for us, including very, very good work in our most recent union negotiations with John Clash. It was just brilliant. And I think we have a very good agreement as a result of that work. So I just don't want our present struggles to overwhelm our sense of the value of that firm. But on the other hand, every once in a while, you probably, you go shopping and you evaluate different firms just to see what's the best fit. So I think that's fair as well.
Mary, that's a great point.
Yeah.
I made it clear, I said, my concerns are restricted exclusively to representation by Stitzel, Page and Fletcher in cases concerning Vermont open meeting law.
Okay, so we're
Nothing
framing
else.
it that way.
It's framed exactly on that topic and no else.
Okay, that's all, that was my only concern, is understanding, how that would be framed. And I probably,
And just because you're good at one thing doesn't mean you're good at everything.
no, I just think that when we're trying to be, I think, more clear about how we're framing things, it's helpful to us, helpful to the public. And so, it's just that the firm does all kinds of different work for us too.
Yeah.
So framing it narrowly, we might have a pretty negative idea about it because we're pretty worked up about it, but just not to forget that they've done other good, different work that's been very valuable to the town.
That's why I asked for the invoices, because we're currently running 3,500 a month.
Yes.
And I can't imagine those redactions are being done for free.
Yeah.
Okay, well, and see, that could be framed as, why, we could reframe it in that way too, like why are legal
So
line items so
we're having a
high?
discussion about something that will be on the agenda. So let's do it then.
What will you call it though? What will we call it? How will we frame this? That's my.
Services provided by Stitzel, Page and Fletcher to the town of Norwich.
Oh, that's good in general. So we could have a general discussion, right?
Yeah.
Concerns by Vice Chair Klassen about services provided by Stitzel, Page and Fletcher to the town of Norwich, specifically restricted to open meeting law considerations.
Well, okay, but if we.
Restricted it.
Now we've restricted it.
I don't disagree, they're not doing fabulous things with a wrongful dismissal suit or anything else. It's open meeting law, and that's it.
Okay.
I don't mean to impugn them as a firm in general. It's the one specific restricted
I think
item.
when the agenda goes out, we can,
Why don't you let's put it on the draft and think about it a little bit, and then when it comes to our,
put it on draft.
final
Think about
vote
it.
of whether to include.
It's in the
More
public
gen-
domain already.
The more
so-
general it is, and we can always talk about the specifics within the general. But if we have a very specific subject, we can't go outside that.
We can make it more general if you like.
I think that's probably a wise thing, personally.
Well, it might be, in a way, more encompassing of what we need from a law firm and more strategic in thinking about it, both in evaluating what's happened and also.
I'm just following the money that we're hemorrhaging at 3,500 a month. That's what concerns me.
Well,
And the citizens of our town.
it's not ever been a very popular line item. It is high. And there,
Too high.
Okay, I see your laser focus on it, but I think there are many considerations, so.
Are there other items?
I just don't, I want to make sure that the two Katucki items don't get lost.
Yeah,
We-
I'll send those
Well,
out.
they shouldn't get merged. I think that, as John pointed out, it's probably better to address, maybe one at a time, just not Or at least two
items or
agenda
something.
items.
Yeah.
And so if we want to talk about a special meeting to address it, or
When you say the two Katucki items, you're referring to,
the public records request,
okay,
how we want to move forward with that. It's been filed, we need to figure that out. The second one would be the open meeting law, curing, or like the additional cures that we have to do.
And the ratifying or accepting piece.
So one is,
Be part of that.
one is the notice of violation,
yeah.
and one is the new lawsuit filed on the 4th of May.
I was so deep,
We need to label them.
yeah, I was so deep in the public records thing that I mistakenly put that into the agenda for the special meeting.
Can get very
I
confusing.
understand. I mean,
Well,
the
I wasn't-
emails
I
from
just,
us as
yeah,
well.
I lost track of what the special meeting was about. It's like, oh, God. So we should schedule another special meeting. I think at this point, it would be fair for us to go into an executive session based on what he's heard from us, what we now know from him, and ask a few questions and come out quickly.
And do we want it on a different day so that we are not restricted to 60 minutes?
Sure.
Next Wednesday,
Yeah, I mean, that would work for me.
Yeah.
June 3rd? What is it?
That sounds about right.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Does that work for people or is that inconvenient?
it works for me. That's a great suggestion to not do it.
It's five.
That
Squeeze
time-
it into an hour.
Yeah,
Do you like 5:30?
It doesn't matter to me.
I like it a little later, maybe 6.
6?
I mean, if we need 5:30 to get it done though,
I just like.
I can show up then. It just feels a little squeezed.
I'm easy.
Yeah, let's just do it 6 then. 6 works for you.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. The,
And then it would also, make sure council can join us.
yeah,
I think Brennan has that
okay.
suggestion.
Yes, Brandon, you have your hand up.
So this is not related to the special meeting. I guess the question would just be communication with Bariah if he's going to be invited. Kimo, would you like me to do that or would you like to do that?
I'll go ahead and do it. I
Okay,
think at this point, I'm communicating with directly now.
okay.
So I think I'll go. Thanks for asking.
Yep. And then I have 3 more if you're ready, ready for 3 more.
Let's hear them.
This could be the longest meeting ever.
3 more.
Agenda
3
items for
more
June
agenda
10th.
items.
Oh, okay, yeah.
To consider at least. So I am aware that our police chief has a request to review the parking ordinance, and specifically as it relates to Main Street on the west side and encumbering some of the traffic turning movements of apparatus. So I had put him off from this meeting saying this is going to be really full, and we're going to put him into the 10th, I think. I can check with him and see if he would be willing to push that back until the second meeting in June, just for time. The other one, 2 other that I'm aware of, is Jan mentioned we should have the Planning Commission grant application on the agenda.
Yeah.
So that has a hard deadline of the 12th that we need to
Yeah.
accommodate. And then I'm also, I've had a conversation with Jeff Lubell related to the Affordable Housing Committee and a request for a loan from Starlake Village. And I had, again, thinking this was going to be the bigger, longer meeting, told him maybe that could wait until June 10th. I do think they are interested in getting that in front of the select board. So I think that
Okay.
that might be a timely one to add.
Okay. So many of these don't have to take very long if the documentation is good. So I encourage them, and I can encourage them too.
Yeah, no, I agree. We should have as much information in the packet for pre-review as possible, so we can limit the amount of questions and discussion.
I will be in Denmark on June 10th, so I will be, it will be very late at night for me, or very early in the morning. So I will be interested in moving to go on quickly, but
Is it doable or would you want to delegate to your vice chair?
I might delegate to him to run the meeting, but I'll be in the
But you'll
meeting.
attend.
I did it last year from Germany, and it wasn't it provided you with some amusement, if I remember correctly.
Can we go a little earlier for you?
What?
Can we go a little earlier to work for European time?
I'm good. Don't worry. I'll still be on this time. Chris?
Hi, Chemo again. Chris Clement, Norwich. As far as a public input on upcoming agenda items, I saw that you wrote in your memo that was received late today, under communications, you had public records policy with a question mark. I would say, given the nature of the last couple months' conversation, I would say that getting a public records policy up and running as soon as possible is kind of key. In the past, I know that the select board has delegated select board members to take policies on. And I do remember Claudette, they were writing a lot of policies with Herb, and they broke out into groups to address a policy. So I don't know if you guys want to delegate, a couple select board members to take it on. But I would think that it ties in with a lot of the conversation that you guys are having now, rather than, kick it down the road. So that's my suggestion, to try and get that back on the agenda and move forward with that as soon as possible.
I think we would agree with you. I put a question mark there for two reasons. One is that we do have a member of the select board named Mary, I think, who's had an interest in policy. So there was that. I wanted to ask her if she was interested. But the other is that when you write a policy, you kind of take on the responsibility for things that are often covered in statute automatically. Maybe not sufficiently, or maybe not specifically satisfying the things you want to satisfy. But you have to be careful, right? If you write a statute for
Absolutely.
something
No,
and,
ironically, the template that I sent to you guys in a packet, I think a couple months ago, came from VLCT, and it was put together by Stitzel, Page, and Fletcher for VLCT. So they have obviously collaborated with VLCT. So again, it is a basic template for that. I'm not saying you have to go through everything, but I believe that they brought up a lot of statutory authority, what you can and can't do. But it just seems that this would be kind of a key time to get that up and running.
Yeah, good. I'll take the question mark off.
All right. Thanks, Chemo.
Okay.
I have a comment.
Yes, Mary.
Oh, just that, a very good suggestion by Chris. I am interested in that policy. I don't know if I could have anything ready by the 10th, but I'm still interested in working on it. In the past, we have started mainly with templates, and usually provided by VLCT, like at least two of the elements in the master financial policy, for instance, started with templates. The purchasing policy that was recently put into place, that was a result of actually working with the template, but also working with the town manager and the finance director to see if it really fit with our size of community. So, but that was necessarily a meeting of three minds. And I'm also a little hesitant, does that type of meeting need to be a working group now? Now that that requirement is on us, I think it's a very good way of working, because especially with the Public Records Act, we'd have the current custodian of the documents who's had experience going through the process. So I think that should be a joint kind of effort between probably the manager, select board member, possibly maybe a little tweaking with council, but the basic template might be enough legal framework to make it go.
Might be.
So, I'm interested in it, but I'm also feeling a little overwhelmed by not knowing whether it could just meet with a town manager as in the past, or whether that's highly improper now, and the whole thing has to be in the public eye. So it's just questions. But I agree with Chris, we've been sitting on that idea
Yeah,
for too long,
no.
and prevention's better than getting.
So maybe we could talk about some of that during our communications discussion.
Oh, that's an idea, yeah.
You know, I just want to get,
Like use of templates or something.
well, use of templates and who can meet with
Policy
you,
development.
what's the right way to,
Yeah.
I think there have been some really challenging communications that we can't resolve by ourselves.
Right, well, something we need to work on, right?
Yeah. So how we, set up some guidelines for how we do that and would be useful. Okay. Anything else?
Pam, it's your.
Yes. Would you like a cookie? We have one.
Thanks.
One left.
I'm trying to cut down. Pam Smith, trustee of public funds. I want to remind you of the conversation you had earlier about reviewing the Sullivan and Powers letter of engagement. I don't know if you mentioned that as one of your future agenda items, but you pushed that off. So please put that on your list. And the other thing is that the trustees sent you a request to be heard at a future select board meeting, hopefully prior to July 1st.
Right.
So if we could be on one of your next two agendas, we would greatly appreciate that.
So will you have something in the packet for us to?
We sent you something.
Okay, so that will go.
If you need me to resend it, I can do that. But we sent you a request to, for the board to consider on the topic that the treasurer brought up earlier about absorbing the accounting for the trustees of public funds into the finance office and the audit.
Okay. If you have a chance to resend that, it would probably be nice to have it in a packet when we're
Right.
discussing it.
Right, okay.
Um,
I don't want to send it to selectboard@norwich.vt.us because I don't want it to go to correspondence, but I will send it to you as an agenda, because we did request an agenda item for this.
So if it's on the agenda, but there's nothing to look at, our policy now is,
It's an email to you making a request that the accounting for the trustees of public funds be absorbed into the Town of Norwich Finance Office, as suggested by the town auditor.
is there a reason this can't go in the packet?
Well, couldn't it go in?
I'm going to send it to you, and you can put it in the
Put it in,
packet.
it was just saying, she doesn't want to go in as a correspondence.
Okay, so
but it
you're
can be
okay
put in
with it being in the packet?
I want it in the packet. I want it as an agenda item so that it can be discussed and decided by the board.
So I need to get it in the,
Yeah, it needs to be an agenda item, hopefully before the 1st of July when the new accounting year starts.
okay. Okay,
So if it's not on the June 10, hopefully it can be on the June 24 agenda. We're fine with either one.
okay.
But it sounds like your June 10 is getting kind of jammed up. So if it's the 24th, that's fine.
Yes, thank you. I have a question for you. So Cheryl also mentioned collapsing the cemetery commission into the audit as well.
That's
They have to ask, that they have to request from us, or?
It was my understanding they were going to do that. Whether they've done it, I don't know.
Okay, so maybe we try to do both.
Try to do both the same night.
Yep.
I can reach out to Alix, who's the chair of the cemetery commission, and ask her if she's sent something in. If not, nudge them to do that. But they also needed to meet as the cemetery commission to decide if that's a request they were going to make. So I'll reach out to Alix and ask her if they made that decision. But yes, it would be good to do them both at the same time.
Sure.
And that was kind of what I was thinking when I reached out to her earlier and told her this is what the trustees are doing based on the auditor's recommendation. And it's something that the cemetery commission might like to think about. And that's kind of where I left it with her.
All right,
So,
good.
okay, so I will resend that to you. And I will check with the leagues and see if the cemetery commission
Okay.
is going to send in a similar request. Maybe it all comes together on the 24th.
If you have recommended language for the agenda, that would be useful.
Okay. All right, I will do that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Yes.
Cheryl Lindbergh, treasurer. I think the auditors are the genesis of this. And I don't think the cemetery commission nor the trustees really have to ask for this. It's what you've been given as a recommendation in a document that you request to have performed on behalf of the town. The select board requests the audit. The auditors have recommended this for years to bring these financial responsibilities back into the town records. This should be what you are doing in response to a report that costs a lot of money to present to you and digest.
Okay.
And this one plus all prior ones, or some prior ones, at least I don't know about all, are on the website.
Okay.
So I think it's easier to move forward with your own, knowing that you are the select board who gets the report to say, how about we ask these committees or these groups if they want it, but they're for it.
Let's make these comments when it's on the agenda. We'll get it on the agenda. You don't-
Yeah, I think it's the select board's
Yeah.
responsibility to have it on the
Fair
agenda.
enough. Yes, we'll get it on the agenda and then we'll discuss it.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else? Now I'm not sure I want to put discussion of future agendas on anymore.
Always got to expand the time allotted.
But I'm
You're about to tell us you're going to wind the meeting up before 9 o'clock.
I'm glad.
It's pretty good, though. Good meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Would anyone like to move to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All right. Let's vote. Or any discussion? No. Clausen,
Aye.
Layton.
Yes.
Here.
Yes.
What? Griggs.
And it's 54.
Thank you for your contributions this evening. Meeting adjourned at
And-
8:54
Yeah, go ahead.
PM.
Don't forget the warrants.
Yes, they're right here.
Okay, good.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Recording stopped.